Mic check. Showing ready for the show. Get ready. Oh, all right. Download. Everything's working. The ticks are up. Excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Black Betterment broadcast. That's right. I'm your host, Rap Raven. Let us find your fantastic PDF that we always use to start the show while I try to close some of these unnecessary windows so they don't block my Mac. I've cleaned my Mac. I've opened it up and got rid of all the dust, so that should help some good stuff. Here we go. View read mode. Here we go. Yeah. All right. So let's get this show on the way. Share screen and boom, 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 and let's see if we can find it. There it is. Welcome everyone. This is. Please tell me I update it. It is. I didn't update that, but it's a 245th show, so that's wrong. But whatever. You live and you learn. All right. So that's 245 attempts at working with the Black community to find solutions, which is always good. So let's don't forget to follow the Black Betterment Building Instagram page. That's where we promote a lot of stuff. Go, go, go. So we're going to start as we always start. Don't forget tell a friend we're live. And as we're going to highlight the triple tragedies, white supremacy, anti-Black racism, and the Ma'afa. And those triple tragedies, they cause a double dilemma. This appears to be long document. Save time by reading. Okay, cool. Double dilemma, which is we are despised and we are disorganized. You see? So there must be a solution, and that is Black Betterment. We promote the lifestyle of Black Betterment on this show. That's right. A lifestyle of Black people helping Black people continuously on Black issues. Allah. So there you go. What is happening there? I tried to download something, and it looks like check internet connection. Well, I should have downloaded. Oh, maybe that's what blocked it before. Let me see if it worked. Oh, give me 7 seconds, family. Oh, I did download. Excellent. Let me give it a long name so I can find out. This is the video that we're going to play today. Let's make sure we got it. Let's quote that word there. Right. Gonna put that across so we have it for later. All right. There you go. Cool. So where are we? We're actually on the solution. So yeah, we're going boom, 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 boom. And now we're here. All right. So yeah, we send that link out, and people can always jump into to give their opinion and to help work for betterment and solutions and stuff. But don't forget the discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. Sometimes people forget that. New people are aware of this, so people who are out there in interweb land and they normally interact and they come. Matter of fact, we had a guest last week who was very fresh and new, and he was quite disheveled. Maybe he might be here again this week. We don't know. If he is, big up him. We'll unpack what he was doing last week as well, because everything's a case study. And if you can use, try to use descriptive language rather than derogatory language, that'd be fantastic. Let's go. So what is today's topic? So, very important, remembering Malcolm X. We remember Malcolm X and the constructive work he did. So I could be wrong, but I think if Malcolm X wasn't unfortunately murdered in his duty for helping the community, he would have been 100 today. Yeah, apparently. I think that's right. If I'm wrong, forgive me on that, but I want to say that is true. In fact, yeah. So 100. Happy 100th birthday. Let me just actually check that, because sometimes I look at certain things and I quote it. Like I swear I quoted something last week about a movie that wasn't even real. So let me just make sure that I've got. So let me see if I can use my quick math skills to see when he was born. I know you guys are good at maths. So yes, he was born in. So as you know, I'm very good at maths. He was born in May 19th, 1925. That will mean today in May 19th he will be 100 years old. Unfortunately, he died in 1965 at 39 years old. So we're going to obviously remember the great work he did, look at some stuff he's done, remember him. That's important. And then we're going to look at constructive criticism versus destructive criticism, how best to use words to constructively motivate Black Betterment. Sorry. So just look at how you can use words in a way that might, be more progressional or just easier to digest, or to more importantly, not what's the word? Not have it be used against your best efforts. I should say, like you intend to do something. The word you use, they could use it against you, I guess. So yeah, we're gonna unpack that, which is always good, super fantastic. So let me just make sure have I posted this week, because sometimes I forget to post. I'm a bad guy. All right, let's go to Leodo. So let's what should we? So normally as we start these shows, we normally look at like random videos and we give you a Black Betterment perspective on them. So while before we actually start the shows and people are getting ready to jump in and have their say or just have a listen and not have a say, um, let's look at some random videos that we can have a Black Betterment perspective on. Let's see, youngest man. Oh, this is a good one. So this is just a little quick one.
Is now the youngest mayor in the UK at the age of 29.
Okay.
Princess Okpeyemi Bright was inaugurated on May 16 as civic mayor of Barking and Dagenham. She first made waves in 2018 when she became the borough's youngest Labour councillor at just age 22. Born to Nigerian parents, her journey reflects deep community roots and a passion for public service. She was previously a chartered accountant and graduated from the University of Westminster. Princess has worked in banking and tech, including a senior role at Uber UK, before stepping into politics full-time. Over the years, she's used her finance background to push for better governance and accountability on the council. Now, as mayor, she's focused on uplifting the borough and inspiring young people to lead. Follow OK Africa as we shine the spotlight on Africans everywhere.
Big up that sister there. She's, mayor of Barking and Dagenham. That very young. Well, I assume still in her 20s. So well done to the sister there. So some constructive news. Hopefully she'll be constructive and do good works and be inspiration. And then, settle down with a nice African man and practice Black Betterment. Who knows? Let's go. Where we go? What else we got there? Let's see.
I think that Black.
That's nice. Oh, this is where I'll use it for next one. What's it? The everyday leaders. What's this? Oh, this is some nice motivational stuff. Well, makes as well, to be honest.
Especially in this country, I see one pattern repeating itself.
Patterns.
Every Black leader who
right.
shows Black people the true nature of power and how to deal with it is either assassinated, driven into exile, or driven to suicide. And the pattern has not varied from the mysterious disappearance of David Walker, 1829, after his famous appeal. And you can look at this pattern and you see its consistency. W.B. Du Bois died in exile. Monroe Trotter, the famous Boston Brahmin, allegedly fell from the roof of his own house. And he had been walking on that roof for a generation. It was his family home. You tell me a man can't balance himself on the roof of a house where he played as a child, that he was going to fall from there. And he wasn't a heavy drinking man, so he surely wasn't up there drunk. So I think Monroe Trotter was mysteriously killed.
Yes, unfortunately, this is when you set up to try to do constructive Black work, you become a target, and unfortunately, it seems like historically, something bad seems to have always happened to many Black leaders and managers and stuff like that. It's never good, never good. So we try to have strategies way to minimize that today. And how we approach things and do things can be very beneficial. You mentioned David Walker, an apologist. I said that word. An apologist. I can't pronounce it. I'm struggling to say banana sometimes. There you go. Let me put his link in there. He's mentioned something. I'll put some Wikipedia. There you go. Boom. Nice. Good. So let's see if there's one or two more videos, then we'll jump onto the actual topic. Don't forget to tell a friend, we're live. This show is for you guys, for the Black community. So come on board. Where are we? Oh, I guess we could play some of that stuff. Why would we play that? I don't know. Oh, no one will say. That's a good one. We'll say that for later. Let's just a brother stand up for Black people.
Y'all's Black men, because they not y'all's Black men. They're not. You don't own shit.
Remember I told you that, in the internet, they'll use these kind of things to get their clicks and that. But it's good to see a brother actually combat this kind of behavior pattern.
And what the fuck do you think
Forgiveness for the swearing. We try to bleep it out, but we can't.
you own? I promise you, a black woman owns me before you own me. And the reason why some of these paper plate people think they can get on here and talk like this is because deep down somewhere in their life, there's a Shannon Sharp who is encouraging them to say things like baby gravy. And I want you to put a big black baby in me. Shannon Sharp, I blame you. I know you're not the first one to do it, but I'm putting all the blame on you. Fuck it. The only thing black men are to some of you is accessories. They're a fucking accessory.
I was gonna forget for the late night language.
Like when they bring you around their friends, they be like, "Oh, y'all want to see who got the biggest?"
Big up Ebbs and big up Qatari in the place. Big up everyone who's in the background. Let me stop it this here. So now we're gonna start this show, Leo. Let me see where to go. Where's these other videos? All rhymed. You know. Son, marry. I've got thousands of videos. I mean, I was gonna cover the. Oh, we are. So wait a minute. Remembering. So let's start with Malcolm. Should we do the Malcolm X first? 3 seconds. Let's remember Malcolm X first. That's probably a good thing to start. And we'll come back. So Malcolm X, also a good way to start. Let's start actually. Let's go more the entertainment route first. This is some of the people who've actually played Malcolm X in the last 50 or so years or more. Some of them I haven't seen, to be honest. Quite a lot of them I haven't seen, to be honest.
Sweaty backs that he built this empire.
We will defend ourselves against anyone who attacks us, and we know who our enemy is.
Black people are being killed in this country every day. Why don't you do something about that?
We replace our slave name with an X. X in mathematics representing the unknown. Since we've been disconnected or cut off from our own history, our own past, our own culture, our own land, we use the X, the unknown, until we get back to our country.
If anyone puts their hand on you, brother, you do your best to see they don't put their hand on anybody else.
Let my being here, Mrs. King, represent the factions that will come if they don't give the good Reverend what he's asking for, and soon.
There's always asking how much do the oppressed have to do before they can be recognized as human beings.
I have never known kindness, humanity, or empathy from anyone with your skin color.
Make a list of some of the films I haven't seen, to be honest, so I'll make a list of some of them. Interesting, we're looking at Malcolm X. The brother would have been 100 today. Had he have not been assassinated. Well, yeah, we would like to think he would have lived to 100, or maybe not. I don't know. Depends on how he wants to live. But generally, hypothetically, he would have been 100 today. Let's see what other videos we got. There was another one I saw in there. What was that? Malcolm number 2. Number 2. I saw this scene. This is an interesting scene. I remember. Let me pause it before it comes in.
Asking what can.
Yes, this is what I remember seeing this scene as a young guy. And it was a scene where a European walks up and asks Malcolm X, what can she do to help black struggle? And people were divided by the response. And even he apparently wish he said it a bit differently. I think it's actually a very good response.
I wanted to ask you, what can a white person like myself, who isn't prejudiced, what can I do to help you and further your cause?
Nothing.
The thing is, depending on where you are in your kind of like your journey, where that could hit you quite hard or right on, or whatever. It really is. It really is. One thing, this scene was actually in someone's page, wherever. And I looked in the comment section. Those people were talking, and I think I said, well, you know, how many white people actually want to pay back reparations? So maybe if someone wants to actually do something, if they can help you, you could say, go start an institution to pay back reparations. Let's see if they really want to do that. That's the technique I kind of use when I'm out in the public or speaker's corner or debating. Like when a non-black person really wants to be in something, I really want to be in your organization. I really want to help. I want to do the right thing, all that good stuff. What can I do? You can do more than you dream of. Just go back to your community. There's 2 things I would say: set up an institution to pay back reparations, and 2, to let us know when racism is being practiced. And everyone I've talked to said no. They've all said no. I just want to kind of be in your thing, really. So okay, well, that's not what's on offer here. So interesting. Maybe those particular people were being deceptive or something. I don't know. Who knows? There you go. So okay, let's see what else. Let's go to now we're gonna have more of an intro of more of a deep dive, 4-minute video about the brother. So let's see if we can find. I had it here somewhere. Which one should I use? I've got 3 of them. That's not that one. That was good though. Is it that one? No. Not that one. Who is Malcolm X? That's quite big. So I think this one's shorter. So let me do the short one. I think it's that one. Yeah, 75 megabytes. It must be.
Anytime you have a country that refers to itself as the free world and democracy, and at the same time has 22 million of its citizens who aren't permitted citizenship, why that in itself reflects lunacy.
Malcolm X was a civil rights crusader, black nationalist, and Muslim minister. He was born Malcolm Little on May 19, 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska. Malcolm's father was a Baptist preacher and outspoken supporter of black activist Marcus Garvey. As a result, the Littles were frequently terrorized by white supremacist groups. Despite his family's attempts to evade harassment, young Malcolm felt the trauma of racist violence firsthand when his father was killed under mysterious circumstances. A brilliant student, Malcolm was discouraged and demeaned by white teachers who ultimately pushed him to drop out of school at age 15. Bouncing between Boston, Flint, and Harlem during his teenage years, Malcolm turned to crime to get by. In 1946, at age 21, he was arrested for burglary and sentenced with 8 to 10 years in prison. While incarcerated, Malcolm developed a new and radical worldview based in liberation and self-determination. Through the influence of fellow prisoner John Bembury, Malcolm became an insatiable reader. He soon found himself drawn to the teachings of the Nation of Islam, a pro-black religious group led by Elijah Muhammad. Accepting his new faith, Malcolm severed ties to the past, changing his last name to X as a representation of his lost African surname. After his release on parole in 1952, he worked to develop the nation's ministry and expand its membership. In 1958, Malcolm married fellow NOI devotee el-Shabazz, with whom he would have 6 children. Malcolm's rapid rise in the organization mirrored the electrifying appeal of his teachings among African Americans. The wider public caught a glimpse of his movement's power one night in 1957, when Malcolm organized hundreds of black Muslims in Harlem to ensure the safety of Hinton Johnson, a hospitalized victim of police violence. Malcolm's vision of black nationalism, which did not rule out violence as a means of overcoming white oppression, was met with fear and skepticism from mainstream white audiences and quickly attracted the attention of the FBI. Still, Malcolm's role as a powerful voice in the civil rights struggle continued to build momentum. By the early 60s, however, Malcolm had grown disillusioned with the Nation of Islam after learning of Elijah Muhammad's extramarital affairs. In 1963, Malcolm publicly cut ties with the organization. Shortly thereafter, he traveled to Mecca and Cairo on a cultural journey that reaffirmed his faith and cultivated his hope for a peaceful resolution to the struggle for racial equality. Still, Malcolm X's return home was not easy. Death threats, many from followers of Elijah Muhammad, plagued him and his family. Eager to make a lasting statement, Malcolm X collaborated with writer Alex Haley on an autobiography. Sadly, he would never see the book's success. On February 21st, 1965, before a speech in Manhattan's Audubon Ballroom, Malcolm X was shot to death by 3 members of the Nation of Islam. While Malcolm's journey was cut tragically short, his words and spirit continue to shed light on the nature of inequality and the path to peace. He remains one of the most influential figures in American history.
All right, so obviously, the brother did much more than this 4-minute documentary can show. But yeah, that's a brief update on obviously Brother Malcolm X, who died many years ago, and it's his birthday in May. And yeah, he would have been 100 years old. So yeah, that's us. There's actually one more thing. His first interview in England. That's interesting, man. Quite shocked. Let's say that one. This real one. Where is it? Malcolm X's first interview for British TV, 1963.
Inside the courtroom, I asked Malcolm X, giving his first television interview, whether the black Muslim prophet is preaching race hatred.
He's not teaching hate, he's teaching history. And since the American white man has used his control over the press and over the textbooks and over all forms of media to make it appear that he has done us a favor by bringing us here and enslaving us, then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has to rewrite history or retell history. And since the white man can't dispute this truth, he tries to defend himself by saying that Mr. Muhammad is teaching hate. It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's truth.
You're quoted as having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board that you were glad it happened.
The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively, and therefore they would suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. And when that plane crashed in France with 130 white people on it, and we learned that 120 of them were from the state of Georgia, the state that my own grandfather was a slave in, why, to me, it couldn't have been anything but an act of God, a blessing from God, and I frankly and sincerely pray for similar blessings from him to repeat themselves as often as he can spare them.
But I take it then you support the freedom-loving attempts of the peaceful marchers in Alabama and these places.
You don't get freedom peacefully. Freedom is never safeguarded peacefully. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England, or he says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. When you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we have been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to sick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water hose on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. Now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
We got Brother Malcolm X there, very, very well disciplined speaker, very influential. Should be definitely studied, and he's definitely missed. There you go. Very, very sad time, but he did amazing works while he was here. Big up all the people with Fresh and House. How do I get rid of it? Remove. There you go. They've changed the UX all the time. Big up Rust TV. Even someone ahead of his time, like Malcolm used to call himself a Negro. It was well, no. What you heard there was he referred to black people. He said black people, and then he referred to the Negro preachers is what they would do whenever a person was behaving in a way that wasn't correlating with any kind of constructive black thought. They will use the term Negro. So at that term, Malcolm X was using the term black. He also used the term African, and Negro was used for certain contexts. But yeah, when you go back in time, you're going to find people who use terms Negroes and these other terms. Last week, there was a brother who wanted to bring back the term mulatto, I believe, and he referred to himself as a mulatto, even though he historically might not have qualified for what he thinks he might be, but then that's his own ideology, so we wish him well. But people have terms that they use. We're actually going to, my friend, we're going to move into the next topic, which actually I guess it overflows with that as well. What did I write down? Let me check. It was constructive criticism versus destructive criticism. It's an interesting one, that is. But that's also going to correlate with names and stuff. So let me go over that now. So let me show you some stuff. So it's just I think when people are going to jump on the panel and they're going to have their own kind of way. There's a lot of people outside my house screaming. It's like it's like this area, whatever. Anyway, So if you hear anything. Yeah, so people are going to jump on at any time and they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to say what they want to say and stuff. And one thing I would say is being in control is the key. And when someone does something that might not correlate with any kind of constructive thought, or might just be somewhat excessive in behavioral patterns, go into case study mode, and try to figure out what is happening now. And that's what you're going to see people like me do, and ask questions and stuff. That's if they don't go too out of control, when they have to be kind of like blocked or whatever. But I think last week we were dealing with something that I would call name narcissism, and excessive preoccupation with racial naming categories and one's own naming needs, often at the expense of others. And you get that a lot, where people want to be called, like the brother said there, you could tie in like Negro, or Black, or African, or you're mulatto, or you're biracial, or you're Negro, or you're whatever it might be, right? And that's all fine. It becomes an obsession, and then what happens is you say, well, regardless of what you want to call people, we can actually still come together and build a bridge. And say, no, if you don't call yourself this, then we can't build a bridge because the kids are going to cry at night and all this kind of stuff. And what's happening is when these things are happening, the model that I'll recommend people use is this model here, which is called the bad intentions model. And that is BAD, where whenever non-black people and self-sabotage of black people being aware of black people deciding to practice black betterment can trigger social systematic phenomenon known as bad intentions. And these are the three stages that they can either go through, or they pick a particular one. So one is benefit. Like when they find that you're trying to do something constructive, they'll try to make other groups benefit, usually whites or Europeans. If that doesn't work, they try to annihilate it. So I'm just gonna shut this down. A, just annihilate that down, right? And if they can't do that, then they'll go to D, delay. Yeah, so try to delay it. Try to, let's make a decision next week, or let me ask my granddad, see what he says, and I'll come back to you. Whatever. This is the behavior they do. So whenever people jump in, regardless of what they're actually saying, think we're on a podcast, and we recognize that unfortunately black people have had a lot of shortcomings, and we want to work with other black people to find solutions and to have a better tomorrow. And people jump on and they're against that. So really, that's a red flag. That's interesting to be against that. And no matter what they're doing, they're slowing down a process, or trying to delay a process, or trying to get us to benefit. So as you see that, it's triggered bad intentions, but use it as a case study. And even in the actual comments, you can say bad intentions, or you can say benefits, and other. You can start declaring it. Like, okay, I can see what's happening. So we can take everything as a case study, and that way, what will happen is when people come into like certain podcasts or discussions, whatever it might be, they'll start realizing there's a whole lot of people on code with a way of processing information, and actually we're not really alarmed by certain kind of outbreaks. We're more like in study mode. Like, okay, let's ask questions and let's see if we can learn from this. And then, but having everyone correlate with the same kind of principles, it make that process much more easier, and you learn from it and stuff like that, right? There's also something else I wanted to say. Yeah. And so, with the name narcissism, you're going to get like speech spamming, where someone is saying the same thing constantly, and they're not really listening to the same. And when you try to say it, that when that happens, you might have to like remove them because it's not a dialogue. But generally, these are strategies. And remember I said that whenever you're trying to help black people, there's two type of meetings. There's the traumatic meeting, and then there's the tactical meeting, isn't it? And once someone is just speech spamming and saying feelings and stuff like that, then it's more of a kind of like trauma meeting. And what they might actually be highlighting is their own trauma. Now, I'm not going to highlight people's trauma who come on the show unless they're willing to unpack it, which we can. But I suspect many brothers and sisters who might behave in such ways have gone through a particular trauma. That's what they're doing. So, one thing before we move on to some of the videos and stuff is, and this is now we're moving into directly the actual topic of constructive and destructive criticism. Constructive criticism, let's break it down. It tends to help, the recipient improve, all right? The recipient improve. So you're giving it as in like, it might sound a bit harsh, a bit strong maybe, but the idea is for the person you're talking to take that, and other people to take that and do better with it. All right. But from a destructive standpoint, when people are critiquing you, and they use they tend to use insults or abrasive language and stuff, that kind of stuff. Whenever you get there, it's then you start realizing that, okay, this is not actually more constructive. This is more of an insult. So this doesn't really, if they try to embarrass you or they try to insult you, then, like it says, their intent to insult, embarrass, then you realize that actually, that's not really, that's not constructive. That's destructive, right? You want to kind of deliver with like a positive attitude, you see, but then if someone's, like I said, if someone has like a negative tone, and you think, well, where's this coming from? Why is there a negative tone? So that's how you can know it could be destructive. Like we said last week, focusing on a situation, a behavior, or an issue, right? So the focus on a situation, a behavior, or an issue. Well, a destructive one, they might focus more on individuals and their personal attributes. So when people come in, we'll highlight these things here just to make people learn where. But you're seeing these patterns, so you can realize that there's actually bad intentions going on. Also offer specific, actionable, objective feedback. So it's like you offer something that can actually be, step by step, A to B to C. Here's how we can make stuff. Like for example, we used last week as a case study. We say, well, bro, if you want to identify as a mulatto, that's fine. But just so you know, the mulatto group, the biracial group, as we might call them today, they are included in Black Betterment, so all is well. And then no, very vague stuff there. No, it doesn't. If they're trying to be destructive, they'll say, offers vague, non-negotiable, subjective to feedback. So that's what we're seeing. So this is, when you've been speaking as long as me, you see this, all the time, and you can see where it comes from. You understand history. But those who are new, they might be surprised that these people fly around the internet and they seem to be dedicated to destruction. But when you see that, put in your head about Black people have really been put through the ringer, and unfortunately, because of that, you'll have many self-sabotaging brothers and sisters out there who don't really know what they're doing. Big up Brother Dominic, big up Rasta TV, big up Qatari, and big up Ebbs, and everyone else in the background who's listening. We've got to talk today. We're remembering Malcolm X. We just looked at some videos, remembering the brother. He would have been 100 today had he not been unfortunately killed. And we're looking at constructive criticism versus destructive criticism. So now that we've gone through a little kind of like text document there, let's see, there's some videos. I mean, I'm now, I'm intertwining these videos with the topic, but you can always grab something from it. So let's see if I've labeled these so I can find it. Number one, what's this one? Let's see. What is this? Oh, number one. Oh, this is a good one. This is very good.
Never my son to bring up.
So this is very important. So this is sisters in America talking about who they want their son to date, and let's hear it.
I never want my son to bring a white girl home.
There you go.
If she can't use a comb, don't bring her home. Period. That's it. That's it.
And that's when Mary had a little lamb.
Lonnie, you feel the same way?
But as far as I don't have a son yet. I don't have no kids yet.
But you will.
Bringing a white woman home?
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't want that. But if he did, that's it. Like she said, everybody got a preference. I'm not going to gear my kids towards what I want them to do or not do.
Why not?
It's their life. Like, I don't like parents who try to raise kids how they wish they did their life or how they want their kids to be. Like, they need to make their own choices. Of course, you got to guide them and teach them certain things, but something like that, their preference is their preference. I'm not going to try.
That's something that I personally, and I'm going to go. I've been around for a few shows as well. And that's that preference thing, and to overhaul that preference thing. And so let me carry this out.
Change them. I feel like that's kind of like on the situation of if you find out your son was gay and you had an issue with it. So I feel like it's one and the same for real. So
interesting.
Either you're going to support your kid or you're not going to support your kid.
Right.
You can always give them advice. If they take it or not, you still got to love them the same.
Love them.
Let's read some comments. Big up Raven. Allowing opposite views might help grow. Of course, yeah. So we as long as there's discourse and discipline, we expect to hear opposite views and stuff. Definitely. Also, let's say do case studies. We do ask that you have some kind of structure, and but once again, some people are really triggered and stuff. But we definitely allow opposite views here, and we're going to invite speakers on to give those opposite views. Back to the video though. So the first sister said, she won't be best pleased if her son came home with a European lady, and then the other lady was like, me too, but I can't stop him preference. I think good stuff. I think sometimes by the sharpness of how you say things, people might try to flip it against you. So always be wary about that. But more importantly, this is the shocking thing that many brothers and sisters can't do, and that is actually a level of truth. Level of truth. What are you talking about? And this is what I'm trying to do when I go into many of these shows out there, and that is that unfortunately, black men and black people haven't recovered from being conquered by white people, really, and unfortunately, we haven't recovered, and there's been no kind of motivation to try to pay any reparations to help that process. So because of that, black people have to recover, and part of recovering is understand how to some of the basics. And some of the basics really is like black love, generational wealth, ownership, motivation, self-esteem building, producing black families. So you can't really, you're going to struggle to do those things if you're not married within the group. So, and your children, unfortunately, we're wonderful people with much skills and stuff, but we haven't collectively recovered from many of the actions that other groups have done, and today still continue to do. So because of that, being with people within your group is a very important part. You can socialize with who you want, you can live your life, but there are primary important decisions, and we would strongly recommend that you try to look for a sister or brother to be with. And I think I think by not having purpose, that's why, because like I was saying in some other debates, if you don't have purpose, if you don't actually direct, the world will teach you to be anti-black. So if you have a world that's anti-black, and you're in the world, and then there is a choice where you have to make where you don't have to pick black, where you have been seeing that black is this or black is that or whatever, then already black people unfortunately are at a disadvantage, and that's something that we have to highlight. You see, when you look at the dating, especially in the UK, the dating preferences of black men at a certain point, especially Caribbean, it's extremely high. And I've always wondered why no one's ever looked at the self-hate metric or the Dahl test, this kind of stuff. But we're going to do that because it's important. Not that you can marry people who you want, that's fine, but we're still going to have a kind of primary of what is the method, the best way of operating to get by, to help black people actually recover, blah, blah, blah. So good stuff. So that was that. Well, there's some other videos where how you word things, and quick criticism and stuff. Let's see what else there was. There's not that much. It's number one. What's it? Imagine we got what? This is another thing. A brother was talking about it, and there's
Asian and white.
Remind me to. I'm helping promote some show as well. Some brother invited me. He came on the show one time, but he's got a new show with a sister, and he said he wants me to come on there. And before I go, I'll show you the stuff and his page, and you go support it. But I've got some clips of his stuff. I'll play it in a bit. But I saw some of the clips he's made floating around, and I think they covered the black hair stuff. So I think that's a high anxiety topic. But one thing I was saying about critique and stuff is when it comes to black women's hair, I think the best thing to do is let black women lead on it, and offer assistance and help. But you want black women to lead that. And obviously have passion be at the heart of it. So I just came across some of these things that came on put up here as well.
Imagine if Asian and white women were constantly perming their hair to look like 4C hair. And even though they would constantly perm their hair, it never looked quite right? It never looked exactly like our type of 4C hair. But in spite of that, they would still continue to perm it over and over and over again, and even do that to their children. And if they didn't have a perm, then they would put on a 4C hair wig. And when it came time to get dressed up for a nice event, they would say things like, What? Me? Wear my natural straight Asian hair, my natural straight European hair with an expensive, nice dress? I'm gonna wear my 4C hair wig. Wouldn't that be a little strange to the rest of us? Like, huh? Why can't we hear how crazy then that sounds when it's applied to our own community?
That's a sister there. There are different techniques on that. Oh, we've got the pan mulattoism brother in there again. Maybe he want to defend himself. I'll let you in a bit, bro. Let me just go through these things. I ain't got too much left. And we can I'm just gonna see if there was one more. Black women doing it.
I have always thought that.
Imagine if
We have to make a vision. I have always thought that.
This as well. This is about the what you call it?
The black.
This is, I think, this is pro the statue. You know, there's a statue in America. I think this system might be pro it. I've got like 20 of that's against it, but I'll play this one that's pro it. I don't think people are agreeing with her that what I saw, but let's see what she said.
No idea what we really look like. Let's talk about that statue. That statue is absolutely an average-looking black woman. She's a few pounds overweight, aren't we all? Okay. She's not huge. She's about a size 8 or 10. Is that not average?
That sister wasn't an 8 or 10. I think she might have seen a different one. I think the sister was quite bigger than 8 or 10. I think 8 or 10 is quite small, to be honest. Yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe I haven't seen clothes in a long time, but I think for women that's quite small.
She is not, dressed provocatively or posed provocatively. They weren't trying to play up any black woman stereotypes. They didn't caricaturize her facial features. She got normal black woman facial features. I don't understand. Yeah, she's not very shapely, but we're not going to act like all black women is walking around here with, some little bitty waist and flat stomach and big butts and hips. We're not going to act like that. Yeah, black women have bigger butts than other women, but we also have bigger stomachs. If your stomach stick out as far as your booty do, you're not shapely. Honestly, you probably would just be fat at that point. But black women cannot find any value in themselves, it seems, unless we're being celebrated or lauded as being some gold standard. We are not. We are average looking. That's the average looking black woman that you walk by, but you don't see her. All you see is the good looking ones that stand out. You don't think about the 50 or 60 average black women that you walk by before that. That's average. Look in the mirror. Black women look in the mirror and they see an 8, 9, or 10. All of us can't be 8, 9s, and 10s. Think about who your 10 is to you. Pick a celebrity. You ain't got to tell us who it is. How do you think you compare to her? Okay. Mine was Halle Berry in the 90s, baby. If Halle Berry was a 10, I'm a 5. Okay. So think about that.
Hey, yeah, I'll bring you in. So in this thing here, obviously, I will say in these topics, let the sisters lead, and the sister has her opinion. She knows how she wants to deliver that. I would say something that, although, about the situation. This is very unique because black women or black people in general are not in charge of media, and they might not get in certain areas media a lot. You might get you might be operate on a different rules to other people groups, or more particularly white people. So because you have a diverse difference of amount of white women on TV, you can have the big woman, the slim woman, the fast woman, the sexy woman, the bad woman, the ugly woman. But when you have very little, you understand that it might, you might just having one or two, it might not necessarily whatever you push forward. It could be heavily used that is what everything you are or something like that. And sometimes white people in the media, they might practice like a form of a backhand compliment. There was times where, European women were always being on like beauty magazines. And then, the new wave came in where it's like represent all types of beauty. So then there'll be like 2 model European women and 1 large black woman. And everyone's like, yeah, diversity and showing all types of love and that. But it might be viewed then by them, at least from their mindset, as a backhanded compliment. So you got to just think about how those things are really. But that, once again, women can lead on that, and we can discuss that in some other time. But we are on constructive criticism versus destructive criticism. And we're joined, funny enough, by last week's guest, Pan Mulattoism. And we'll welcome the brother in. Well, welcome for part 2, brother. You were here last week.
Peace unto you, my mulatto brother. How you doing?
Very good. So just to catch it for the brothers last week and the sisters, Pan-mulattoism is a brother who quite recently has changed his racial category or his racial identification to.
Well, hold on. When you say recently, what do you mean by that?
When you were born, was that how you were identifying?
Actually, yes. If you're asking, does my birth certificate that came from the white man say mulatto? No, mulattoes are misclassified as black in the U.S. But my entire life, I've known that I was mixed race. I'm actually of Melungeon descent.
Right. So, right, of course. So I think what you were saying before was your none of your parents actually are European, but you have admixture from a historical past. Is that right?
Yes, both of my parents are mulattoes.
Right. And matter of fact, everyone you've ever known has been mulatto from what you see. Is that right?
Yes, multi-generationally, definitely.
What did you call them before you called your parents mulattoes, which is an old term? What were you calling them before that?
Well, actually, that's the term we use for my family. We would either use the term mulatto or the term U.S. Atlantic Creole interchangeably.
Oh, I see. Okay, so there was no time where you used the term African American or Black American at all.
Well, just to be clear, black, no. African American, yes, because mulattoes are by definition African American.
I see. So they told me that before you, and I think I might remember your branding before. You went by a name of what was the name you went by before?
Yes, and I try to not to mention it because I want to bring traction to my page that exists now, but I acknowledge myself as a Afro-diasporan, which I still am.
Right. Oh, let them know what that actually meant and why you use that term back then.
Yes, I still use the term now, but when I say Afro-diasporan, I'm a person of African descent within the diaspora. That is, I'm a descendant of transatlantic chattel slaves. So yes, I'm by definition an Afro-diasporan.
Right.
But the reason I put an emphasis on the term mulatto is because when I say Afro-diasporan, that's a beautiful term, but it omits my other ancestors. Additionally, there are mulattoes throughout the world that are not the descendants of transatlantic chattel slaves. For instance, the mulattoes that exist in the Arab world, the mulattoes that exist in Asia. So when I use the term mulatto, is to put an emphasis on the mulatto people in the modern day.
So when you say mulatto, you're talking about people who have black admixture and other admixture. Is that what you're saying? Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay. And are you outside in the windy? You might be outside in the windy stuff. So.
Yes, I live in Puerto Rico, which is a mulatto Wakanda. I'm at the beach right now.
I see. Cool. Well, I'll just meet you when you're not there. All right. So okay. So your reason for jumping on the podcast was what exactly? Just so we can.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked me that because, with all due respect, the blacks attempted to run interference when me and you as mulatto brothers were unifying. My question was, and I never received an answer for it. So I'm gonna ask it again, and with all due respect, please do not go on a monologue. Just answer the question as precisely as possible. Now, you are aware that the whites forced the one drop rule on mulattoes, such as myself and such as yourself. They called us black, completely disregarding our other ancestry. My question is, with all due respect, to this day, why do you abide by the one drop rule that was forced on your people, your family, instead of acknowledging the totality of your racial identity, which is that of a mulatto, a mixed race person?
Right. Yeah. So for me, once again, you are coming with something that's very new and brand new for a way of how people identify today. You might acknowledge something, and you said there was a time where you wasn't acknowledging, participating in the word you're using today. Something happened for you to change.
No, that's not what I said, bro.
Right, well, let's say that you were born that way, and you've always, unfortunately, the people who spoke before have said differently. But let's just say that you have always said you're mulatto. we don't use those terms here, right? People follow ideologies, right? So there's ideas like Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism, and those words are inclusive of what you are describing as a mulatto, right? So this broadcast is about Black Betterment. So whether I am a mulatto, or Malcolm X is a mulatto, or Malcolm X is a Negro, or Malcolm X is a Black person, or I'm a Black person, or I'm a Negro, these words change depending on political terms and historical terms, right? But the people group don't. So tomorrow I might say, I'm a mulatto. Oh yeah, I'm a Negro. Whatever I want to say, right? But the people group that it represents doesn't change, and that people group is inclusive of Black Betterment. And the overall greater term that is inclusive of mulatto and inclusive of Negro and inclusive of Black is Black. It's the grand term.
And watch how brief my response is. Aren't you aware that there are actual Black people, that is, people of African descent that have no racial admixture? They have told you and will tell you and will tell other mulattoes, no, actually, you're not Black. So the question is, don't you realize by calling yourself Black, you are perpetuating an unnecessary confusion? If you want to unify with the Blacks, why not unify as people of African descent and still maintain your mulatto or mixed race identity, which is genetically irrefutable?
Yeah. So once again, we're talking about terms and names. So when you were here before you left last time, we said that Black Betterment is synonymous with African advancement or Afro advancement, right? And in different lands, different places, it changes because, once again, it causes anxiety, or some people suffer from name narcissism where they cannot use certain kind of names. So because we have the synonymous star, so every time, what you're going to realize is, and sometimes we might forget, but it should be on the most of the times, right? Whenever the word Black is on a Black Betterment document, we have the synonymous star there. Can you see it? It's right there, right? And
Yes.
Yeah. So that star means, whenever you see that star, it means that this word Black, even though it represents one greater collective people, it can be also it can also have a different name, which, and I've got a lot of documentation there, so I have to really slip through it, right? But it could mean African, Afro, Sun people, the ABC community. We wouldn't use Negro, but it could use Negro because sometimes we have to historically go to past documents. Yeah, and we're looking at grand names that could include all the people of African ancestry, or Black ancestry, or Sub-Saharan ancestry, or Sun ancestry. Or there's so many terms because, once again, language, history, the world. There's so many things, but here we go. Black Betterment, Blackamoor Betterment, African advancement, Aboriginal advancement, Alki-Bulan advancement, Ethiopian advancement, Israelite improvement, Indigenous improvement, colored correction, Negro nutriment.
Yes, brother, I'm able to read the screen, but you may not have understood the question. Even on the screen right here, you don't have mixed race or mulattoes listed. So the question is, with all due respect,
well,
don't you understand?
We got colored. There you go. You got colored. There you go. There's one of the words. But we're happy to add any other word you want. And we can find it, mulatto management, or whatever kind of branding you want. But what's more important is the star, because the star represents a continuous change in of branding, or awareness, or naming, or language. But the people don't change. You see, the rules.
But please, let's go step by step. Even with the term colored, that's an ambiguous term that actually can refer to non-African peoples. Additionally, there are mulattoes on Earth, particularly mulattoes in the U.S., mulattoes in the Caribbean, mulattoes in Brazil, that do not identify as colored.
Yeah,
all right, go ahead, make your point.
Yeah. So once again, we understand that there's overlaps and stuff, but once again, we have our rules, don't we? Right? And the rules is the ABC, the Afro-Black connected community. There you go. And sometimes you use the term Black, or sometimes you use the term African. We understand there are people of color, and historically that meant freedmen who were either of African descent or who were of mixed descent. And then as time went on, the American government and some other governments started using people of color to represent non-white people. We would only want the Afro-descendant people of color if people want to use it. But once again, we don't suffer from name narcissism, right? It doesn't, like, we understand who our people are and we have documentation to say what they are, right? Now, if those names cause anxiety, then we can try to give you some kind of help and stuff. But
Yes, and that's the point right there. It's not even about anxiety. And I want you to listen to what I'm saying, because with all due respect, it seems like you have selective comprehension. My question is very clear. There are mulattoes that don't identify by any of the terms that you had listed.
it wouldn't
So
matter.
don't you? Well, actually, it does matter, because your goal is to
No,
reach.
no, no,
Well,
no.
one mic at a time, brother. Let me complete the sentence. Let me complete the
Yeah,
sentence,
you
brother.
can. Hold on. But what I'm
All right,
saying is,
go ahead.
4 seconds. What it is, it's and that sometimes has to be very forceful. Like this is an open door elite concept, right? Meaning that it's like these are the rules we go by. You're welcome to come. You don't have to welcome to come. We don't. We have a term in the Caribbean. We don't really beg friend. Now it's like this. We've defined ethnic groups, right? There's tons of ethnic groups we've defined. Yeah. If you're within that ethnic group, you can practice this lifestyle with us, and we'll work with you for collective betterment. Right? That's it. Now, I'll find the ethnic. You can see if your ethnic group's there, and if it's not there, we can have a discussion to put it on the list. But this is not a friend begging thing. Like, I'm really trying to make a mulatto person or a black person in Egypt or wherever. It's like, if you're on the list, you can participate. If you're not on the list, then here's the list.
Yes,
Right?
but brother,
Find
you're
your
missing the
region.
point.
Find your
And
region, brother, and see
all
if
right, go
your
ahead, make your
ethnic
point.
group's on there. So
And
where you're based? Where you're based? Where you based?
well,
You're
before I
based.
answer that, you interrupted a point I was trying to make
Go ahead.
earlier,
Go
and
ahead.
it's not about begging for any friendship. The point is it efficiently working your platform or your ideology? And with all due respect, it is not, because it has not directly addressed the millions of mulattoes within the diaspora, and you're one of them. So the question is, and I
Brother,
cannot
hold
simplify the
on,
question.
because we're learning at the moment. We're learning at the moment.
You have to learn.
Hold on,
So the
hold on,
question
hold
is,
on, hold on, hold on. 4 seconds, family. 4 seconds.
well, you said 4 seconds before and took
I'm
60
just going to
seconds,
need
but go ahead.
your wind is quite strong, so your sailing is quite strong.
But the audience can hear me, brother.
Okay, I'm going to mute you for 4 seconds. It's important because remember, we're talking about name narcissism. This is a case study, right? And we're going to bring on a sister in a bit because we've got a sister in the background. This document has probably existed longer than the brother has been identifying as pan mulatto region, right? Or maybe not, but I suspect it has, because he's been debating with the others when he had a different name, and this document came way before the channels he was debating was live. But here are the many people groups. Notice the stars there, yeah, of the black people groups in North in the American diaspora. He went by Afro diaspora, by the way. We have here mulatto. So the collective group he is describing is in this document, and that means they are willing, they are allowed, or they can, or they're permitted to practice Black Betterment and come on the show and be constructive. So they're included.
Yes, and am I allowed to respond, or will you
You
mute me
certainly
again?
can, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, and watch how brief my response is. The question, which you still have not answered, now you have referred to name narcissism. The question is, why have you put the emphasis on Black Betterment when you yourself are not black?
Right. So we all know we've answered this before, right? All these, first of all, my parents are Afro Caribbean, so that is
Mixed race, correct?
Well, you're not going to find any very few people in the diaspora who don't have a historical admixture because of the child enslavement process, right?
But there are mixed. There are black people that are not mixed, correct?
Well, the racial category is black, but if you're saying do they have admixture from, yeah, everyone has that in the Caribbean.
No. Well, one step at a time, brother. And this is why you keep interrupting me, because you know I got you in the headlock right now. On Earth, I'm asking a simple question, brother. Are there sub-Saharan Africans that don't have European ancestry on Earth? Simple question.
So yes, there are Africans
Okay,
who don't have.
so those are the blacks. You are mixed race. The question is,
yeah.
why do you assume their identity? Why do you pretend to be them when you know that you are not them? You know that you are mixed race. You are genetically different.
Yeah, brother. Here's what it is. You're gonna struggle this, right? If you
Actually,
see,
you're struggling with the mirror,
I'm
bro.
gonna meet you because I'm speaking, and you're doing the speech.
We're having a dialogue, but go ahead, brother.
It's not speech spamming, but maybe it's because it's windy where you are. I'm not too sure. But what I'm going to say this, right? This is our part 2 meeting, by the way, for people who listen today. So basically, when I was debating in Speaker's Corner, the reverse happened, right? There'll be a Caribbean person or an African American person who says, by the way, when you say black, you keep including Africans, well, they're not black, because in order to be black, you have to go through the enslavement process and end up in the diaspora, right? And I'm like, I hear that. I hear these all these definitions. However, we have the synonymous star, and that means this is a branding term. Black could be African, could be whatever. It changes depending who's saying it, but all those people are included in what we are doing here. Now, I
I heard that part, but can you address the question?
If you don't understand that, I can't really help you, brother. I think
I think
we now have to turn to you. Hold on, the sisters here. We now have to turn to you to go, what is going on in your brain computer where you're constantly speech spamming and practicing name narcissism because you want people to identify as mulatto? It's very
you're derailing right now, brother, and deflecting. I'm asking a simple question.
And I've answered it very well.
Actually, you didn't. I'm asking a simple question. You acknowledge, one mic at a time, please, brother. You acknowledge that there are Africans on Earth that are not mixed, that don't have European ancestry. You also acknowledge that you yourself have European ancestry. Why do you pretend to be black when you know that you're actually mixed race? Simple question, brother.
Right. So once again, we were joined by Malik Goddess, and I'm saying that
yes,
it's very simple, right? Yeah. Black is a brand. It's a race category, and there are certain things that qualify people under that brand race category, right? That's what it is. Yeah, and it's a good thing to use because we need terms that includes people who are enslaved, people who are sub-Saharan African, and people who have admixture, and people who have one black parent and one white parent, whatever it might be, right? And the good word to use for those two things are African or black, or the word that we push in here exclusively, the ABC community or the Sun people, right? Right. But once again, this is what we call a supreme waste of time. Why is it a waste of time? Because once again, the people, I'm not saying you, but you could qualify for this. You could be practicing bad intentions. Now, this is what we did. Now we're going to have to learn it. What is bad intentions? Meaning that someone else is either going to benefit, or what we're trying to do is going to be annihilated, or there's a delay process, right? There's a delay process. Now, we also today have learned about, because you're helping us today with the topic. The topic is constructive criticism versus destructive criticism, right? And what you're realizing is that we are placing things that, specific things that can be actioned and done. You're being very vague, yeah? You're being very dogmatic with what you're trying to approach. But once again, the reason we're having this is because we're learning. We're trying to see what motivates brothers and sisters like you to behave this way. So may I ask, what was the conversation you had? Because your channel wasn't called Pamelatism, right? Who was it, the person who spoke to you that made you go from Afro diaspora and whatever it was to this? Like, what is it that they said that really triggered in your head? Let us know. Go ahead.
Yes, and you did a lot of filibustering, but watch me answer your question directly in a way that you are afraid to answer my question directly. I used to be like you, brother. I used to think that I was black. I used to omit my non-black ancestry, but then I had to realize, hold on, when I'm amongst the actual blacks, I know that I am genetically different. Now, you brought up race earlier. Now, I answered your question. Now, answer mine. Watch how brief it is. You brought up race earlier. Now, you understand that race has a genetic component. In other words, the black sub-Saharan Africans that don't have European ancestry, they are genetically different from you. True or false?
Well, every single black person in the planet has some kind of unique trait, unique nose length that makes them different. But
exactly. So the unmixed blacks are different from you, correct?
It's very important. This is the learning moment. It's not what makes people similar.
I didn't ask you that though, brother. With all due respect. I see you trying to tap dance.
I'm just gonna mute for 5 seconds. But the reason why I'm saying this is because you could be called Tuesday, right? Meaning you're coming with some issue on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'm just gonna mute because of the wind. On Wednesday, I would talk to someone else, and that someone could be from the Caribbean, he could be from East Africa, he could be from Norway, and they're gonna have a very particular. Listen, why do you call yourself black when I'm Cushitic, or why do you call yourself black when we're Bantu, or why do you call yourself black when we're Nilotic? And then for them, what's more important is those kind of markers, those kind of things, right? So I'm saying that, you know what? We have an overarching concept that is inclusive of all these people. And the fact that these people come together, they know we're talking about the same thing. So what we say, we use the star, the synonymous star. And that's why every time we write the term black, it could either mean mulatto, it could mean colored, it could mean Cushitic, or whatever you want to use. We don't care. Because remember, when you become someone who actually does something, the name narcissism doesn't work, because when you do something, you realize that actually things take effort and time, and sitting in a room discussing, why are you black? Why are you Negro? We don't do that, because nothing gets done. I hope that explanation makes sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, and watch how brief my response is, because I know you like to filibuster. So you just told on yourself, you acknowledge that there is a genetic difference between the sub-Saharan Africans that don't have European ancestry and yourself. So the question is, and I asked this last time and you attempted to evade it. The question is, why do you have to pretend to be black in order to unify with the blacks?
So what you're doing is you're interjecting a narrative and then running with it, right? And you're repeating yourself. Now, the only reason we're tolerating it is because we're literally using you as a case study, right? All right.
Yeah, and we're doing the same with you, brother. Yes.
I don't know who we is because you're here alone.
Yes,
right?
the mulattoes. Yes.
Well,
you're an example of a tragic mulatto. I hope you wake up, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So what once again, family, this is when we listen to this kind of conversation, right? Remember what we said. Always think of the systems in play, like what's happening, right? Like why would someone come to a platform that's trying to find solutions and behave in such a way?
Well, I came to wake you up.
Hold on, brother.
I came to wake you up.
Hey, I might put you down for a bit and bring you back, but just because you're doing important stuff. But what I'm saying, this is important because this brother, even though his particular ideology is unique to him on his own, other brothers and sisters out in the world, they do exactly the same thing. They suffer from what we're studying today, and analyze his behavior, analyze the sharpness of it. It's named narcissism. It's like you see an excessive preoccupation with racial naming categories and one's own naming needs, and often at the expense of others. And this is something I've seen for many years. But what usually cures it, and this is the honest truth, is actual action. What does that mean? As in, like, people on the ground doing things that's beneficial for the community. Because when you do that, all these things leave. These are the luxuries of being on a keyboard, or being at your home or on the beach, wherever it is, and just tapping into a podcast or something where you can just type, you have your thoughts, and then you just go to bed, right? When you're actually doing something, these things don't really last, right? Now, once again, today's Tuesday. Wednesday, there will be another brother who will say that Africans are not black, and they'll say that East Africans are not black, and they'll say that people in Brazil are not black, and all this kind of stuff. It's interesting, right? But once again, when they do it, you have to try to think why they're doing it, right? Because there's nothing he's doing that is based upon solutions or fixing issues or how people to work together. He wants people like Malcolm X, myself, and people in the diaspora to not use the term black, but to use the term mulatto. That's his branding. And he's very passionate about it. And I suspect he's been in many arguments, maybe with Africans on the continent. And if he's been debating Africans in England from Speaker's Corner, they can be very harsh, right? So I know how that can be, right? And after these kind of debates, he now is very firm that he wants to call himself mulatto, a very old term that was used in the time of enslavement, but it has a historical context. But he wants to resurrect that term, and I suspect use it for most diasporan black people, as in people who are descendant of enslaved Africans. And I'm assuming, once again, the reason he wants to do it isn't necessarily highlighting the actual individual mulatto, but more so, or the biracial person, but more so a connection to Europeanness, which is something that needs to be studied. Why would someone in the African diaspora, the descendant of enslaved, want to use terms that connects and highlights Europeanness? And that's something we can ask him when he gets time. Welcome to the broadcast, Malik guys, as well. Always good to see you here.
Peace,
Peace, Black Betterment.
Peace, sister.
Black Betterment. Peace to you, mulatto.
Peace, family.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, Queen. How you?
I'm good.
And is there something you want to say? Yeah, we listening. Sis.
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask a question because I know a lot of times I'm usually like addressing like your statements and honestly just it is somewhat troublesome to hear someone who I would consider a black brother, and I understand that you don't consider yourself black, so I'm not pushing that on you. But what do you think? Do Italians consider themselves?
You went out, sis, but I think I heard your question.
I think she said, "Does Italians might consider
Yeah,
something?"
I heard that question. And the answer to the first part, I mean, because it was two statements, and I'll answer the second part last. I'm here literally to expose the psychology of the tragic mulatto, which Rap Raven is, with all due respect. I asked him a simple question. He attempted to evade it. The question was, since you know that you have European ancestry and the actual blacks do not have European ancestry, why does Rap Raven feel the need to pretend to be black to unify with the blacks? Doesn't he realize that he could embrace his mixed race identity and still unify with the blacks? And to answer the sister's question, because that's a powerful question she even asked about the Italians. Now, you have Italians that are 100% European, but I think she's referring to the Southern Italians, specifically the Sicilians. Now, they, just like Rat Raven, they are at opposite ends of the spectrum. Rat Raven is a
Oh shoot! Sorry, bro. Hold on. You got cut. Start again. Sorry again. You got cut. But before that was a mistake. But before, sorry about
of
that.
course.
You got cut. But you're back now. But before you continue, just so you know, Brother Foster, who was here last week, he might identify as biracial, but he might be historically a mulatto in the sense of he has one black parent, one white parent, something you don't have. But he himself is saying 10 minutes of Malcolm X and 1 hour on the troll sums up this channel. Now, obviously, this brother he might be practicing bad intentions, but for those who are looking, the reason why we let these brothers speak, including Brother Foster, is because it's very important to understand that the brain computer and the mind psychology of people who become error prone or unsynchronized. And what we try to challenge those brothers to do is highlight what, after you've had your name or whatever it is, what is it that group that you describe should be doing for betterment? And that's what if they can do that. Because
and allow me to answer the sister's question, brother.
Go ahead, bro.
Yes, and for the audience, you see that Rap Raven is constantly muting me and putting me backstage because he's panicking because I'm putting a mirror up to his face. Now, to answer the sister's question about the Italians, as I stated before I was rudely cut off by the host, the Italians, particularly the Southern Italians, the Sicilians, pardon me, they are at opposite ends of the spectrum from a brother like Rap Raven. Rap Raven is a mulatto that pretends to be black. The Sicilians are mulattoes that pretend to be white. They both have not only an ideological issue, but they have an identity crisis. But I live every day to wake them up, and I welcome them all
So
to the mulatto movement.
you speak to Italians and you convince them that they're not white. Is that what you do?
I speak to the mulattoes amongst the Italians, particularly the Sicilians. There are a number of Sicilians within the mulatto movement right now. Yes.
And what about Brazilians and who identify
Exactly.
as Afro? No, let me finish. Those who identify as Afro Brazilians, because I don't believe that all Brazilians have African ancestry, but I definitely believe that the ones who identify as Afro Brazilians.
Since she went out again.
Yeah.
But I would like to answer her question. I think I know where she was going. The term Afro-Brazilian is similar to the term African American, whereas you will see that there
Hello.
are. Oh yeah, we hear
Can
you,
you hear
sis.
me? Okay. I was
Yeah.
saying that this is not necessarily I'm making a statement before my question. So there are Afro-Brazilians, and I think that the reason why they are intentional at distinguishing themselves as Afro-Brazilian is because they are identifying that although they are in the country of Brazil, they are Africans who were brought to Brazil, meaning they're black and they're not they're not of the non-black people. right? So if by way of rape and so forth, so basically the majority of their ethnic of their genetic makeup is Black, and if they became the non-Black genetics that they have was by way of rape and so forth, that and it could be even very minuscule, right? So Europeans in America who have 10% sub-Saharan African DNA are not walking around calling themselves mulatto. It's like it's 10%. I'm 90% European, right? And not only am I 90% European, but my culture dictates of that from Europe, right? So you're adding your.
You might have cut, sis. Let's answer a question in the forum. The brother who's called himself a mulattoism, he doesn't have any European parents. So the question was asked. He's using a different understanding of mulattoism. He's kind of new age version that he's branding.
Actually, you're wrong about that. With all due respect.
Well, okay. Well, do you have a white parent at all, brother?
No, that's not the part I was saying you was wrong about.
What part?
Well, I'm trying to answer that, brother. Can I get to it?
You can.
The part that you are wrong about is the understanding of the multi-generational mulatto is not a new age understanding. Actually, anyone listening can look up the U.S. Atlantic Creoles. These people have existed in the U.S. since the inception of the U.S. Additionally, you can look up the Louisiana Creoles. A
But
lot of them,
everybody aren't those people, though. But there's a
sis, that's
particular
not.
Creole
Hold on.
culture that they have. They have a Creole culture.
Well,
We don't
hold on,
have that.
host. Can you moderate
I'm
a
just
little
gonna
bit, please?
I'm just gonna mute everyone for 4 seconds because we're joined by I think Stanley. When you can jump in a bit, Stanley. But while these brothers talk, what I want you to do the case study in your homework is see if we get anywhere in this discussion about names and who's the names, right? Because what we're predicting is we won't, and there'll be no actual discussion of any constructive work being done. It'll be more so. Why is your name this? Why is your name that? You should call yourself this. Black people are this. Black people are that, right? And this is what we're saying about name narcissism. That's what part of today's education is on what is and how it works. And what we're saying is, regardless of what people say now, notice that we won't get anywhere. And even though you try to give as much detail as try to be as much inclusive as you want, when someone suffers from name narcissism, they just won't listen. Yeah, they just won't listen. Yeah. So
And let me tell you what we're getting as mulattoes in the U.S. With all due respect, actually, there is a petition right now to get the term mulatto placed back on the U.S. Census. This will enable federal funding to be allocated to mulatto people in similar ways that federal funding is allocated to immigrants and different religious organizations, as well as, quote, Black colleges, HBCUs. So that's what we're getting within the U.S. Additionally, we are attempting, and I would say successfully, we are successfully building and strengthening the mulatto communities that already exist throughout the entirety of the U.S. So that's what we're doing as mulattoes. But as long as you pretend to be Black, you will not understand that, with all due respect.
Now we're joined by brother Stanley.
Well, I mean, but I don't have the same ancestry, so when it's kind of insulting for you to say that I'm pretend. I don't have a Creole mulatto culture. I don't have a Creole mulatto genetic makeup. I don't have that.
But you're not from the U.S. though.
But I'm from the Caribbean, and you're telling Caribbean people
Exactly.
the same thing.
No, we're talking about the U.S. though.
You cannot.
All right,
You can. Hold on. Okay, I heard you talking about the U.S. You're not repeating it. Over talking me. You can't assume that everyone who was from the transatlantic slave trade is a multi-generational mulatto such as yourself.
No, I never said that though.
People,
I never said that.
I am. You don't have to say that while I'm speaking. You really don't.
But you're going with a
you
false
want to tell
narrative.
people that they're being. You want to tell people that they are being defensive, and you got them in a headlock because you were interrupting them while they're speaking.
Since you interrupted me, but go ahead.
So let me finish my thought. There are people who were Wolof who got with Akan people, and then the Akan people got with Yoruba, and the Yoruba got with Igbo, and the Igbo got with Fulani, and they don't have any European admixture, or they have very, very 2-3%.
And since I'm not talking about them though. I'm not talking about them.
There are lots and lots of people in the Caribbean that that is exactly their story. So it
And
is
since
insulting.
but do you understand? I'm
So
not
it is
talking about them.
insulting. I was not finished. It is. I will go on mute when I'm done. It is insulting for you to be on a channel where the majority of the people watching are continental Africans, Caribbean people. That's who's watching Brother Raven's channel, right? And you are saying that we're all freaking mulattoes.
I never
No,
said that.
speak for your goddamn self.
Yeah, I never said
I'm
that.
on mute now.
Yeah, I never said that. Actually, you went with a false narrative. I never said everyone was a mulatto. Those people that you're speaking about that are not mulattoes, I'm not talking about them. With all due respect, I'm speaking about mulattoes such as myself and Rap Raven, the host of the program, whose channel this is. That's what I'm speaking about.
But brother, you have told me, and I told you I'm 7% non-sub-Saharan African, and you called me a mulatto. Yes, you did.
Well, that means you're mixed race by definition. Checkmate.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
Sister,
You can't tell me because somebody raped my great grandmother that now I gotta adhere to that. No, you tell a white man, tell Donald Trump he's black. He got 7% African too.
Sister, the thing is, you're dealing with someone who has an ideology in his brain, and regardless of what's going on in the world, for whatever reason, that's what he wants to articulate. See?
Well, I'm standing on DNA. Are you all standing on DNA?
Okay.
I am.
Okay, so you're mixed race. So you're mixed race.
Have you done yours?
Well,
share your screen. Share your screen. Show your DNA.
Forget the DNA for 5 seconds. What I'm saying is, this is you got to understand the pathology of what's happening, right? So let's just try to change up a bit, brother. Regardless of what definition you are, if we are, we're not. We are loyal to black. So let's just say that we're not. We're loyal to black. How'd you like that? Would that be a better way of putting it? So that way you now have something. So now you can say why, but rather than try to say you're this, you're that, or we should identify as that, say, okay, we're not that, but we're loyal to that concept.
Yes, and let me respond to that. Watch how brief my response is. And Rap Raven, respectfully, this is why I say that you booty clap for
Just
the
make
blacks.
it brief.
Hold on. I'm gonna meet you. Look, I don't mind you. I'm just gonna put you down for 4 seconds. That's why I'll bring you back in a second. Now, brother, I don't mind you come up with like slogans and branded comedy stuff, but you have to be respectful and you have to try to not to scale into name calling. Now, once again, we're case studying. If you see down here, when it comes down to constructive criticism and destructive criticism, right? And offers vague, unactionable subjective feedback, right? Focus on individual or personal attributes. You see, a negative attitude. What I'm saying is we all can see what the brother's doing, right? And while the training, and it will take time, is when brothers and sisters like this jump on, not to get angry at them, because you can't validate their delusion, or not even their delusion. Let me be clear: validate their ideology that they've made up or they want to push about. Right? You just have to case study them, and then you have to go, okay, now let's say that I'm a mulatto, and we're all mulattoes, or whoever he wants to be called mulatto. Now what? What's the next step now? And what happened is you're never going to get that. Now, brother, I'm going to put you back. Stanley, did you want to say something? And we're going to put Pam back in.
Rap, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. We've put you back, and welcome to the.
Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Hey, Mel, how you doing?
Peace, Stanley. How are you?
Pretty good. I actually just came up to ask a quick question of pan-mulattoism. You mentioned that. Who do you consider black? Like, you said original blacks or something?
Yes, the actual blacks, and I'm glad you asked that question.
Who are the actual blacks?
Yes. Do you want me to answer that, brother?
Anytime you get around to it.
So stop interrupting me, brother.
Dude, I will interrupt you anytime I want, just like I do on my panels. Who are the original blacks is my question.
Are you here to booty clap or get an answer?
Hold on. Listen, wait.
Please stop with the derogatory stuff. Mulatto, he's gonna put you down, right? He's gonna that's not that you have to learn how to. And this is my complaint around sometimes of how Americans deal with other people. When you go in somebody's house, you ask them, do you want me to take my shoes off? You go with the rules of that person's house. You don't bring how you do in your house to somebody else's house. That's not allowed. And Raven has been very clear that word, the booty clap thing, stop saying it. If you don't complain about him putting you down, if you're gonna keep saying it. Follow the rules. It's not hard. It's embarrassing. As a fellow American, it's freaking embarrassing, yo.
Like I
He
said,
has mulatto privilege.
yeah. So look, like I said, I'm still trying to find out the benefits of what the brother's trying to promote, and what I suspect there is no real benefit. He's suffering from name narcissism. You see, well, and that's the reason we're letting him speak, because this is actually a topic, and it's a topic I've seen, regardless if it's in the UK, Canada, America, or Africa. I've seen this topic where people get really, really motivated and then they try to get technical and biological and historical and descriptical, all the calls you can think of, right? And so, okay, now that you've said that and we all identify, let's be that. What's the next step? And I think that's the thing, that for many people, this is their bowl. This is what they bring. I bring a name, and it's that. Hear what the brother's saying. I suspect what he's saying is the majority of people in the Americas who are descendants of chattel slavery, because of the historical process of being sexually assaulted by Europeans, then they should try to have a term that includes that the Europeans, and the term that historically that was used was mulatto, because that meant historically you had one parent who was European and one who was African or black or Negro or whatever, right? And this is the term he wants to bring back. But the question that has to go to, does that mean his whole thing is to then have emphasis on Europeans, as in some trying to get closer and closer to Europeans through words or through actions, because that's what it sounded like, right? Whether it's indirect or direct, that's where it's going. Now, what we were saying is the original term of mulatto was meaning a Negro and a European or a Bronco. Those two people coming together, they are welcome to practice Black Betterment and are in the Black community, right? So even though he's taking identity, they're welcome to do the stuff we're doing. But he's not happy with that. He wants everyone to, I guess, not to work with the African. He has to come and clarify that.
Can I offer, and this is kind of through a historical perspective. I tend to look at American culture and politics and all that stuff through a historical lens.
Yes.
I think mulatto wouldn't work, because if anything, Black Americans don't want to be European. A lot of people don't want to even deal with the European heritage, mainly because of, basically the sexual violence that created mulattoes. I don't know that. I mean, it's one thing to be proud of your heritage, nothing wrong with that. But for some people, that basically reminds them of some historical, wrongs. If he wants to identify as a mulatto, that's great. Don't expect other people to admire that sort of thing.
And the internet is a very unique place, and I'm obviously part of it, and we're all part of it. So, and the reason I say it is like people just come onto a place, and we don't know what they've gone through, what they've dealt with, or what they've been subjected to. So, for many circles, it's very peculiar to see a person who was once identified as Black or as African American or whatever, now wanting to identify as below, and given the narrative that they've always had. Right, but then once again, the internet is a strange place, and being on it for a long time, you could actually be driven to do so many things. And what I'm saying is, when those individuals come on these kind of those platforms, we have, I would say, try to be kind, because maybe they come from a certain place where they're being, where something has happened and we don't know.
Is he gone?
No, he's still. I can bring him back, but
I really would like to know what he considers Black.
I think he explains it, but he goes in loops. He's here.
Well, I was cut off, actually. I was trying to explain it, but I was cut off multiple times. Yes. Would you like an answer?
Yes.
Yes, and it'll be brief. Number one, a true Black, an actual Black, is a sub-Saharan African that has zero admixture. Additionally, and this will be brief, Rap Raven accused me of
whoa. What does Rap Raven have to do with my question?
Well, what Rap Raven, are you going to moderate?
See, this is your problem, Mulatto.
Are you going to moderate Rap Raven?
You
because when I cut people off, you mute me.
You expect others
are you going
to
be
moderate?
Brief?
Well, fam,
you know what?
Yeah, are you going to moderate?
Question, sir. What does Rap Raven have to do with my question?
Yes, Rat Raven, are you going to
See,
moderate?
you can't follow your own rules. That's your problem.
I'm just gonna mute everyone for 4 seconds, and because remember it's a learning.
And let me respond to that. Sub-Saharan Africans don't consider themselves black.
Well,
it is literally moronic. Your point.
Right. Now, here's what it is, family, right? So remember, we're using this as an education piece, right? So let us break down why we're here. This is a broadcast called Black Betterment Broadcast, right? And what it does, it promotes a lifestyle where no matter where Black people are, we can educate them how to be constructive, how to try to boost economics, how to help family, and every single activity to get improvement, right? But the issue is when you do that, some people have different terms, have different names, or they don't understand certain things. So this broadcast has a method, of saying that these people here are included in what we're promoting. So in the land they are, or when they come to other lands, they can practice Black Betterment. So what we've done here is I'm just going to find this very important because the brother kind of went past it, and it really, is. You gotta forgive me. We've got a lot of data on this sheet, a lot of data, but we're gonna find this here, right? We've got a list of ethnic groups, right? And we're saying these ethnic groups can be identified or historically have been identified or been connected to Black people or African people, depending on the term you want to use. And it seems a great collective. And all these people here can actually work together or in their land to do constructive work. Done. It's a documentation. We move on. Now, what Brother Foster is saying is he's saying that this brother and the other guys have said it. He jumps from pound to pound in the same kind of stuff. So we're aware that this is like it might be semi-trolling or maybe some psychological issue here, or maybe he's generally sincere in what he does or doesn't know. But what I'm doing is when Brother Stanley will say that, okay, well, Africans are not Black, and then he go, well, mulattoes are not Black, and then what I'm saying is this will be when I go and do public debates, I say that unfortunately Black people as a collective are inadequate.
Well, hold on. I didn't say Africans weren't Black. I said they generally don't identify themselves.
You're right. Thanks for the correction. And that's what I mean by it, right? Where what will happen is meetings like this will always be like a 7-hour debate about who is Black, who identifies Black, and what is Black. So what we've done is we have a document in it, and the document is just there, and it says, look, historically, these are the terms that have been used or included in legal law about people who have African ancestry or Black or Negro, and these are the ethnic groups, right? So Black could be an ethnic group, it could be an ethnic equation, which is one ethnic group, another one, or it could be an ethnic extension, which could be like, you might have something like Berbers, but within the Berbers, there's actual caste systems that are Black Berbers. So we've done really a high amount of research to find who are the historical people who have been labeled Black, have the phenotype of Black, or have the history of being Black, and we've put them all on a document. And this document can change. There might be one or two that's been missed out. We'll add it where it might be, but it's right here. Now the brother has said he wants to go by the term mulatto, and look, when we look in the African diaspora, we understand historically that term has been used. There it is. So the term that he's using is there. Right?
Yes, and with all due respect to the host, Rat Raven, when the other panelists cut me off, will you mute them or do you only
I will,
mute me?
bro. I will. As long as you're having a back and forth with
Yes, and
please.
watch how
Now-
brief my response is. You accuse me of wanting to have a proximity to whiteness, but Rat Raven, you have to look in the mirror. You live in the UK. You have a closer proximity to whiteness than I do. I live in Puerto Rico in the mulatto Wakanda, with all due respect. Additionally, with all due respect, you have to acknowledge, well, I'll ask you, brother, to see if you're delusional or not. I think you are, but we'll see. Is there a genetic difference between a Black person and a mixed person?
No.
All
Well,
right,
can I help? Can I hop in? The reason there is no genetic difference is because the term is not a biological term.
Yeah,
it is a social construct, son. They're not biological terms.
All right. You're delusional, with all due respect.
Okay, dude, not only am I delusional, I'm literally a trained biochemist.
Yeah, so let's have a dialogue.
I know.
Let's have a dialogue. Hey, Rat Raven, you gotta mute him up.
You are not making a genetic argument. You are making a social. You are making a.
You're both doing good stuff,
dude. You are
Let me, bro, I'm just muting for 4 seconds, brother Stanley. Because what
You
is
are a trad.
Okay, we're gonna move Stanley down for 4 seconds, and we'll bring it back up, right? For 4 seconds. But this is what I'm saying. Like nothing will come from this conversation. So, okay, now mulattoism. You said something. So remember, when you say something, we have to try to give the Black Betterment perspective because that's what it is, right? You said you're based in the UK. You're close to white. The reason why we have Black Betterment is literally whether you're in the diaspora, you're in the continent, yeah, there is a set of guides of how you can live that will further Black people in the land you are. So if you're in Puerto Rico, there's such thing as Afro Puerto Ricans.
Afro Boricua, yes.
Yeah, and those that category, they go under Afro Caribbean, right? So you guys together can get together, yeah, the people with identifiable African ancestry, yeah, and you can find a way of existing that best. Because unfortunately, whether you know it or not, being connected to Africa or being connected to Blackness from non-Black people, you will find much discrimination, unfortunately. So we have lifestyles and guidance of how you can do that. Here in the UK, it's no different. Whether you're Yoruba, Afro-Caribbean, biracial, as long as you're of identifiable sub-Saharan African descent, you can work together under Black Betterment, the lifestyle, to find solutions. That's what it's about. So no matter where you are. I hope that
And Raven, please allow me to respond. It'll be so brief.
I'm sure it will be. Go ahead.
Just back to the question I asked you, because you're pretending to be delusional, but I don't think you are. So I'm gonna ask a simple question: is there a biological difference between Jaimin Hunsu, or do you know who Jaimin Hunsu is? I'll use Akon as an example. I know you know who Akon is. Is there a biological difference between Akon, the black man, and Drake, the mulatto? I'm just asking a simple question.
The type of question you ask is like me saying, "How old were you when you stopped beating your wife?" It's a loaded, flawed question.
No, actually, it's a genetic, biological question, brother.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. And the reason because once someone
Well,
gives
why didn't you pick a mulatto that has the generational mulattoism? You pick someone who has a white parent.
You're right. Vanessa Williams, then, a multi-generational mulatto. Is there a biological difference between Vanessa Williams and Lupita Nyong'o? Simple question.
They're two black women.
So it's no genetic difference.
The genetic difference, or are they both black? I think you should ask the question.
No, I'm asking a simple question. Is there a genetic difference?
There's genetic difference between me and my sibling. What do you mean?
Exactly. You just said it. That's checkmate.
We're not the same. Between me and my sibling, we're not the same people.
Well, says one mic at a time. You literally
if we have the same parents. If we have the same parents, we're not genetically the same just because we have the same parents.
Now I heard you. Can I respond? No, I heard you. Can I respond?
Your question is flawed.
Well, I heard you. Can I respond? Watch how brief my response is. If you admit that there is a genetic difference between yourself and your sibling, then surely you have to admit that there's a genetic difference between Vanessa Williams and Lupita Nyong'o, correct?
But I think, but your question is, your question is, we're not asking are they the same identical people. Your question isn't are they the same identical people. Your question is are they part of the same group, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, they're part of
the same group. Actually, you're wrong. Vanessa Williams has European ancestry. Well, one mic at a time. Vanessa Williams has European ancestry.
They're still part of the same group, but they're still part of the same group.
Please, one mic at a time.
That's what we're trying to say.
But you're panicking. That's why you won't let me.
Group.
But let me
I'm
complete.
going to leave you for 4 seconds, brother. I'm not going to put you down for 4 seconds. I'll bring you back. Yeah. Because so those who are joining now, we're doing case studies, or it's called name narcissism, and we're fortunate we've got a brother there who might be practicing it, and it's showing you the complete dedication to names, right? Like we are the, or they have to be this name. But the question I asked when we first did the case study is, see if there's anything he does that is of a constructive nature, of a collective constructive nature. And it won't be. It'll be more so ad hominems and then name calling, and then we're different. And then what we were trying to teach everyone was the bad intentions, where when people jump on, they have bad intentions, but we break down by B, A, and D. So they either try to make other people benefit, they try to annihilate what you're doing, or they try to delay it. So if we were to do that case study here, he might be more so around the A, annihilating what we're doing here, or maybe the D, delaying it, I would assume. Right, but I don't want people to get frustrated thinking, why do we let certain people who have been identified as trolls on the platform? Because the self-sabotage chip that's in many black people, this brother is fortunately demonstrating to him, and that's why we're going to ask him, can he tell us, now that let's say that we all identify as mulatto, that's what he wants, right? What's the next step? What is the next things we do, yeah, that can bring back people to betterment. Now, if what he's trying to do is separate black women like the ones he mentioned from black women like the other one he mentioned, that's not going to be beneficial, because we spend a lot of time trying to unify people in the diaspora, people of black heritage background. So there's no value in trying to divide them now. We don't really see that as a good thing. Let me see, got some of the questions. How do you approach the term throwback, where there are different shades of variation of siblings? Excuse my word reference should cause an offense. You talking the funny that I was before the show even ends. There's a video, funny enough, and he might like this. The video is called mixed something. I'll find. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. And the brother and sister, they're talking about their history of being identified as mixed and black and stuff. But one of the brothers said, like, look, me and my brother, we've got the same mum and dad, but I was born extremely dark and he was born extremely light in comparison to their father or whatever it was. And just that alone then changed their how people view them and what they can and couldn't identify as. And what I'm going to do is let me show you, because the brother invited me on the show. Not sorry, brother Mulatto and thing. It's only because you had quite a lot of time. I just have to show some of the other stuff what we can learn from it. But let me just throw. I think it was this one. So that's the long one. But then let's see if I got the short one here. So this is the show. Where's the show? Give me 7 seconds, man. It's this one.
That's the question.
So this is the brother. He came on the show one time.
Because mainly white mums. Sometimes you get a black dad with a white with, but do you think they say if the dad leaves? Do you think they educate the child enough about their child inside? Because sometimes, like, to me, if you have a mixed child and you're a white woman, you got a mixed child, especially in this time, you got YouTube, you got TikTok, learn how to cane roll, learn how to do their head, learn how to cook their food. Like, there's no excuse.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, yeah. You can learn. You can learn to cook their food, but it's not everybody. Some people's hands are needed for particular jobs. I'm not going to get a plumber that deals with toilets.
Yeah, but as a woman and as a dad, from you got a mixed race child, yeah, you should learn that culture that you breathe.
Anyway, this is a clip that he's done, but it says a new show called Mix Settings, yeah. And have I got a link I can put for you guys to follow? So go follow this group. I think the topic they want to tackle with me is I think they want to tackle black marriage and like who should black people marry or whatever, and one other one, are black men have black men recovered from being conquered by white men? That's the other topic as well. So this is their group, this is their thing. They're called Mixed Settings Podcast, and I won't play the video now, but yeah, what for the brother who's coming on, he's got a different concept of how he wants his mulattoism. Historically, mulattoism would usually mean where you have one black parent, one registered black parent, and one registered white parent. You see, so that's why a lot of the biracial brothers and sisters in the forum are not really taking him serious, because they might think he's maybe appropriating. I mean, maybe their historical word. I don't know, but that's for them to find out. But let me see if matter of fact, what I can do is just find this thing. The image. Let me quickly. I'll play because I compressed this. So I might as well play 1 minute of it. Mix for the areas. This one. So this is a show.
Hi. Sorry, my brain just went blank. Welcome to Mixed Settings Podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Sucker Punch. That's my socials. My name is Lulu, and this is...
My name's Daryl Raps, aka London Open TV.
So today, it's a mad one, isn't it? So, like...
Yeah, it's the first show with me and Lulu, you know what I mean? Mixed Settings, and yeah, so what are we covering today?
So let's talk about why we decided to call it Mixed Settings.
Okay, yeah. Let's start there.
Like, credit where credit is due. Dowell has shown time and time again, like, expert journalism on the street, relevant, like, authentic bits of information, not bits of information, like works of information that has been needed. And we decided that now's the time to.
Yeah, start the podcast. And so the name now, Mixed Settings, is because obviously I is a man, she's a woman.
Yep.
And we just want to cover a mixture of topics, you know what I mean? And there's a coincidence that we're both mixed race. So. But I cast myself as mixed race black.
Same.
You understand? I think I got mixed blood, but I'm seen as a black man in most environments.
Same. I feel like if I'm in a environment that is predominantly white, I'm black.
Fully.
I'm considered black, unless they find out that what my heritage is. And if I'm in
hold on, but we got, because this is interesting, because obviously we're doing the whole little mixed race biracial thing, and there's gentleman here speaking, Daryl, I think. He says that he's mixed race, and obviously Foster, the biracial brother, in the forums, he's a bit confused. He's how is he mixed race? This is obviously now the gatekeeper of mixed races, whatever. Both of them look black, especially the guy. So, well, what the sister, well, they haven't declared what they say, that they're mixed race, but he says I'm mixed race black. So they're explaining what that means. So let's see if we can learn.
environment that is predominantly black, some people, it's a mixed bag, but I feel like some people can genuinely assume that I might be mixed race. But I've had a lot of people say that I look like I present as a light-skinned black woman as opposed to a mixed race woman.
I kind of agree.
Yeah?
I kind of agree. If I look, you ain't got that typical mixed race girl look. I think she could be.
That's so stereotypical. But
I'm
yeah.
sorry, man, them know what I'm talking about.
So did the girls. Like,
so did the
the
women
ladies.
that know what I'm talking about. But I'm saying, like, I'll think, oh, she black, or she could be mixed.
So you see that mixed race look here? Is that mixed race look? Would you be able to identify that as somebody that's mixed race, that's more on their white side, or more on their black side? So when you're saying that mixed race look, is it the mixed race look that you can tell that they've been raised by white people?
No. It's more just the look.
Oh, okay.
It's more just the look. Until if I ain't heard you speak, when I hear you speak, you can kind of gauge it more, innit?
So if I spoke like this, hi Daryl.
You're raised on the black side.
Oh, it's still raised on the black side. Okay, that's really interesting.
You know what I mean?
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I feel like it's interesting.
What side was you raised on more?
Mixed. I had mixed settings. So my mum is white.
Okay.
And my father is black Caribbean.
So they've got a brother Foster in the thing, and he said Raven looks more mixed race than the dude. He also said both of them look black, especially the guy. So this is a Foster who's identified as biracial, meaning I think one parent's white, one parent's black, maybe even different. I don't know. Yeah, you can let us know that. But even amongst, I guess, the mulatto or the biracial community, there is still this kind of like phenotypical kind of like perception and I don't want to say hierarchy, but there seems and I don't know if pan-mulattoism even qualifies in. I think that I don't know that Foster is the gatekeeper of biracialism, but you see there's always so much spectrums and concepts and misunderstandings that we have a overarching concept in it. Black people, the collective group, and amongst them there's all those things, and it's connection to sub-Saharan Africans, you see, or whatever. So let's carry on. I'll play for four seconds while the brother explains what he is, and then see the little shade. That was no shade for him. I won't give you no shade. I was just you can jump on, bro. You can jump on, but you don't want to jump on. There you go.
And I was raised by my mother and my stepfather.
So your mum is white, what?
White English, but we've got Irish heritage.
Okay.
Irish heritage. So my mum, I believe my mum's side of the family have Irish heritage, and my mum's dad's side of the family have English heritage. Which is obviously kind of weird, because it's like, I understand that I've been around those people, but just to not to detract, your point is that the question you're asking me is that I had that, but my dad is a blues musician. Okay. So I've had... Russia TV says there is a huge perspective Raven is lacking in this man. Let us know the perspective so we can learn. Culture, I've had understanding, I've had like history, like real history, and he loves books. He reads all the time. He paints all the time. So our household wasn't like, I would like to say it as a hippie household. The artists, So it's not I'm going down a pub or I'm doing those types. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, but that wasn't my upbringing. My upbringing was more eclectic, understanding where people come from, why people are the way that they are, and being more accepting.
About the food. What was cooking?
Who was cooking?
Bangers and mash.
Don't knock bangers and mash, you know. Don't knock bangers and mash. I don't eat pork, but don't knock bangers and mash because
Beans
when it's
and
done
toast,
properly.
those things.
Listen, beans on toast. But you know what? My dad. You remember Ready Steady Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah. If my dad saw something when the height of those programs were on TV, if my dad saw something like, that looked nice, he'd make it. He'd rustle it up. Same with my mum. My mum's more like she was vegan back then. And how vegan is amazing now. Back then it was just like, my friend, I just need meat. Like I don't want pause. I just want food. I want like hearty food. I don't want to feel like I'm eating rabbit food. But yeah, my mum's food is lovely. My mum makes a mean lasagna.
Okay.
What about you?
So, yeah, my dad's Jamaican, but he's born here. My mum, what is she? She's Bayesian and English. Bayesian and English, basically. But her dad's mixed race, so her dad's like Scottish and Bayesian, and her mum's English, so she's like cast. I don't.
You see the.
So what the brother is saying is his mother's mother is, or so, his mother's one mother parent is biracial, and another parent is English. So he has one black parent and one parent who is, I guess historically they use the wrong term, octoroon, so I'm assuming, and he has inherited much more melanin than other members in his family, and I think that's what the brother was saying. That's all he said. For example, where I come from, the country is 100 million Ethiopian. Black is a derogatory term. When people say that you look black, they're telling you that you are different from us. Yeah, of course. There's always going to be different terms and stuff, and you're right. There are East African ethnic groups that might not identify as black, or they might not connect to Bantu, whatever. But regardless of how they currently think, what we are practicing is inclusive of the East African. Maybe if there is so much confusion when we're there, we won't use the term black. We use the term African advancement, because of how things work, right? But there's an understanding that there is a connection with the Ethiopian and the Nigerian or the Afro-Jamaican, regardless of whether you want to use the term black or not. Rather, we went from, like the same mixture, take note, confusion. Admixture. Often the Caribbean, they call a person white, but the fact they have black admixture in them. Yeah, this happens. Once again, all this stuff is good, but what Black Betterment focuses on is people on the same community, the ABC community, the black community, the African community, wherever it is, working together. Like, it's all good having names and you're this, you're that, but if you're not actually doing any action, any work, then it's just really like a pity party, isn't it, really?
The stuff like that, I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. But if you met my mom, you would understand.
No, I hear it.
Like she in the kitchen, she cooks Jamaican. You know what I mean? So it's a weird
So
one.
she's been influenced by the culture.
Yeah, heavily. But her dad teach her to cook because he's Bayesian. See what I'm saying? So she's been influenced by the culture. But if you come to my house, you probably see the food she's cooking.
Yeah.
So his mum is biracial and his dad is black.
Bro, what's going on here? Like when I go Jamaican shops, I'm thinking my mum can cook better than this.
I hate that feeling.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
not even gonna name and shame
Like,
the
a
shitty
lot
Jamaican
of
shops I've
them,
been
like,
to.
I'm like, even when my friends come around, my Jamaican friends, and they taste more, she's like, rah. You know what
She
I
can
mean?
shut it down. She's got the hands.
Yeah, chefing. So, and my dad was a soundman, so I grew up in that type of culture as well, going to like
Okay.
all dayers and parties and stuff from I was like 5. And,
That's nice.
like around the sound systems, there, just going everywhere. You know what I mean? So that, like, my childhood up to when my dad was like up to 11, like it was very, I would say, fruitful, like in the sense of culture. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's down to the time that we were in, the lack of social media?
Well, the show's going to end soon, but we're going to, obviously, we're going to bring pan-monetarism back just because even though we don't necessarily agree with most of the things he's saying, we want to be respectful and let him have his kind of final words or whatever. So welcome back, Pan Mulattoism.
Peace, my mulatto brother.
Okay, welcome back. Is there, but before we go, is there any kind of like let's just say that we all identify with the terms you use. Is there any kind of actions that we should be doing that you would recommend then? And who is inclusive
Yes,
of actions?
yes, and I tried to speak about this earlier, but I was cut off multiple times.
Go ahead.
But you all, as mulattoes in the UK, fight for a specific mulatto category on the UK census. This way, you can advocate for federal funding to be specifically allocated to the mulatto communities
You
in the
already told you he
UK.
was loyal to Black. You already told you he was loyal to Black though. So even if he said
Oh,
I'm mulatto,
well,
he picked a
Rat
side. He picked
Raven,
a
can you
side.
moderate the
He picked a
panel?
side. He picked a side.
Yes, Rat Raven, are you able to moderate your panel with all due respect?
Well, the sister gave you perspective, but
Yeah, she also interrupted me.
yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is this.
Crying.
What I'm saying
Yes.
is
I'm trying to answer your question, brother.
yeah, but
Yes.
outside of trying to get funding for a name, yeah, is it
No, for a people, brother, not for a name.
for a name? Okay, but so what you're
You're not
saying is
understanding. with
you
all
want
due
you want to have so have you ever been to England before?
Yes.
Right. How long ago did you come here?
The last time I was in the UK was right before the pandemic, 2019,
Right.
and
So,
also in 2015.
so you know that the black people are seen as a multi-ethnic group in the sense of black people are made up of Afro-Caribbeans and Africans, and then there's a smaller population of Afro others, right? That they say. So so essentially what you're saying is you want the Caribbeans, the Afro-Caribbeans, to then be separate, have a separate
No,
market
that's not what I'm
Africa,
saying.
right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong. And actually, if you stop interrupting me and your panelists stop interrupting me, I can tell you what I'm saying without you having to attempt to finish my sentence. With all due respect, if you fight successfully to get the mulatto category on the UK census, you can also advocate successfully to get government funding allocated to establish mulatto institutions, mulatto businesses, and mulatto communities, not just for the Caribbeans. No, because in the UK, as well as you know, I know that there are mulattoes that have an African parent. There are mulattoes that have Nigerian parents, Ethiopian parents, Cameroonian parents. So the Caribbean mulattoes are not the only mulattoes in the UK.
Right. So let's get this down. In the historically, the term mulatto was used having one black parent, one white parent. So if a person in the UK has one Nigerian parent and one English parent, do they qualify as a mulatto in your definition?
Clearly, they are mulattoes.
Okay. Now, if a person comes from the Caribbean and is a descendant of enslaved Africans, yeah, and they're in the UK, does that person qualify in your definition as a mulatto? In your definition,
Clearly, that would be you. With all due respect, brother.
now if a person comes from Africa and they're not a descendant of enslaved people and they come to the UK, do they qualify as mulatto?
If they have European ancestry, yes.
So, are you talking about like Fulani and that kind of stuff because of the herding and they might have admixture from North Africans and stuff? Maybe is that I don't know. I'm trying to think of.
Yes, brother. Just to be clear, brother, when I say mulatto, I'm speaking about any person of African and European ancestry, brother. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science.
Right. So what you're saying is that the group should only be people who have mixed ancestry of African and European, but that group should not unify with the group of just Africans. Is that what you're saying?
When did I say that, brother?
I'm asking the question. We have conversation.
Literally last time.
So the institution. These are questions around your.
Rat Raven, are you
questions
going to
to you.
moderate?
You're going to end up
I'm
speaking
trying to
after you
answer
answer
the
the
question.
question.
I'm trying to answer the question. Rat Raven, are you going to moderate with all due respect?
The thing is, you might be filibustering. I'm asking you a question.
I'm not filibustering at all. It'll be one sentence. It'll be one sentence. Can I answer it?
Answer the question.
Yes, and I said this on your panel multiple times before. The mulatto. Well, I'm trying to go ahead. Stop cutting me off. The mulattoes can. I didn't say must, but can establish a mutually beneficial relationship with the blacks. How many
Right.
more times do I have to say that?
Oh, hold on. Now, what about with the white community? Are they also
Yes.
included in this? So essentially, you are practicing a form of kumbayaism where it's like this group, this new classification of blacks, now mulatto, are now inclusive of white people and black people.
No, you're not listening. I said
I'm not talking the registration group. I'm talking about because what I'm saying is very particular. It's very particular. Like Black Betterment is literally, and let me explain. It's people who are classified as mulatto and people who are classified as black and people who are classified as African working together. Yeah, under the
yes,
banner.
we understand that.
Branding Black Betterment, right? So what you're saying is, it's now a different thing because
Yes, it's very
we
different.
don't include. Hold on, there is no need to include Europeans in that process. And if it was included, hold on, if it was included, it will come from a point of the former group, the Black Collective, being in a predominant power position, then trading and networking or exchanging ideas with other groups. But it's as a collective that's built up institutions made up of many different people from whether it's Africa, mulatto, black, Jamaica, whatever, in an institution working in unison for the betterment of a great collective. That's what the idea is, bro.
Yes, Rat Raven, with all due respect, when I say a mutually beneficial relationship, why do you disingenuously translate that as, pardon me, mistranslate that as kumbayaism?
So basically, I'll explain why. What we're teaching here now is how can the group of Afro-descended people work together to deal with the many challenges that comes by being identified as an Afro-descendant person.
Yes, but did you hear my question? With all due respect,
Is it the answer to your question?
Well, actually, it's not. I said nothing about kumbayaism. I said a mutually beneficial relationship. Or in other words, if it does not benefit mulattoes, we should not engage in that unity.
Right. So, Black Betterment benefits mulattoes.
Yes. It's debatable.
Yes.
It's debatable.
Explain how a lifestyle that has ethnic groups connected to the betterment of it, and mulattoes are included as that ethnic equation in the group, right? Meaning that if I'm making an institution and I'm looking to hire people, mulattoes are on the list to be hired because I recognize that by being identified as mulatto or mixed or whatever it might be. Yeah, you could go through overlapping same discrimination or problematic behaviors that either continental Africans go through, or Caribbean Africans or diasporan black people go through. We just watched a podcast of two people who they identify as mixed, take or give. One has a white parent, one has a biracial and black parent, where it might be. Even in the group, there's biracial people who don't even kind of see them as biracial because they think they look too quote unquote black, right? So what I'm saying is all these problems that they exist on a spectrum, and what we're saying is the group you're identifying, whether you're accepted or not, is we can't clarify that, but the group that you're identifying want to be connected to, that group is included in the betterment institutions that we're making.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
That's tangibility, right? So can like what you're doing is inclusive of it, but you're trying to still get a different kind of outcome. Is that right?
Well, let me respond. It'll be so brief, actually, and we have to put the onus on mulattoes. Now, when you say Black Betterment, actually, the damage it does is not only does it perpetuate an identity crisis amongst mulattoes, additionally, it splits the mulatto community. You will have mulattoes that support Black Betterment, then you have mulattoes that don't. But if you would have titled it Mixed Race Betterment or Mulatto Betterment, you would have a higher likelihood of unifying the mulatto community, which you are a part of, with all due respect.
So and this is where the harshness comes in, because it's a back and forth. That's not how the branding works. The branding works is we have a greater collective branded term that is inclusive of hundreds of ethnic groups, ethnic equations, and ethnic extensions. And mulatto is inclusive of that. And the term used to connect that might be Black, it might be African, or it might be ABC community or the Sun people, right? These are the greater collective brands we use to connect all those hundreds of ethnic groups that have been historically labeled as part of the Black community. That's what we're doing.
Now, I hear that part. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. What I'm saying is this is ABC kind of stuff. It's like technical stuff, paperwork, blah blah blah. We're moving on. But what we do this, you can come and join this stuff every week. We do the same stuff. What we're doing, we're moving from A to B. You might have to convince us that you're not just someone who jumps from channel to channel, just really trying to get people to call themselves below. Because that
let me respond to that.
We need more than that.
He didn't finish. He didn't finish.
Yeah,
well, he's preaching with all due respect, but go ahead. It's your channel. You could preach.
It is. But we're trying to have tangible solutions, and unfortunately, some of the stuff you're saying seems more dogmatic than tangible.
Actually, with all due respect, I was going to say the same thing about yourself. What you're stuck in is a black dogma because you express your delusions. When I asked a simple question, is there a genetic difference between a black and a mulatto or a black and a mixed race person? And I even gave examples. I said Vanessa Williams and Lupita Nyong'o. You were unable to acknowledge that there is a racial, genetic, and biological difference between these people. That's your delusions of grandeur, with all due respect. So I asked another direct question. Why is it your goal? And you have no responsibility to take up this task, but why have you decided to take up the task of unifying the blacks instead of unifying the mulattoes when you yourself are a mulatto, you're mixed race?
Right. So
Wait a minute, can I get in after his question, please?
yeah, sure. I'll be very quick. I know. Sorry, I have to apologize to people because we repeat ourselves, and I know this qualifies as trolling because we keep saying the same thing. And yeah, but it's very simple. We have a term that is first of all, we reject the term we use anyway, right? But even if we didn't, we have a term
break that down. I'm not trying to interrupt you.
Why are you interrupting him? You are interrupting. You are.
So
for clarity, you said you reject the term.
I reject it. Yeah. So here's what it is, right? I do not identify as mulatto. Yeah.
No, were you referring to black or mulatto when you said you rejected?
Why are you interrupting? You had an issue with somebody interrupting, and you said moderate, and now you're talking.
Yes, but he did not moderate.
So then be quiet. Be quiet. It's his channel.
So you can interrupt.
There you go. I'm just gonna mute you for 4 seconds, brother, and then you can jump in. It's like this. The terms I use are very particular, right? I have an Afro-Caribbean mother and an Afro-Jamaican father, right? Historically, they would have been registered as Negroes or whatever it might be, but today we use the term black people as a collective. Or
and they're both mixed race, correct?
They're both Afro. They're all black
mixed
people,
race,
right?
You can tell the truth.
Once again, what you're
doing? All right.
Now, brother, the thing is, I'm just gonna put you down for 4 seconds. If you keep behaving that way, right? People are gonna struggle to do the case study unit, right? Because I would like people to take you serious, but unfortunately, you're not taking yourself serious. Yeah, I'm asking you to give us tangible things and stuff, and you're not doing anything. You're stuck on what today's topic is why you're here, really. Name narcissism, where you're bent on. So it's like this, brother. Watch this. Let me go with you now, yeah. And sister, you're gonna speak in a bit, but I'm a mulatto, you're mulatto. Now, what's the next step?
Yes, and you cannot mischaracterize me. I actually gave you great. I'm trying to answer that. Can I answer it, brother?
Go ahead, answer the question.
Would you like me to answer it without cutting me off?
Go ahead.
Yes, and multiple times I gave you very tangible tactics that you can implement. You cannot mischaracterize me. I said that you can fight successfully to put the term mulatto on the UK census to tangibly advocate for.
You're muted, bro. I'm taking that 4 seconds. Just come in. Now, that's what I'm saying. Once again, the tangible thing he wants to do is come to the UK and rebrand IC3 or black people as mulatto. Yeah, this is what he wants to do. I'm saying, okay, outside of that, what could the actual people do? Yeah, day to day in their lives, what activities? This is what he's stuck on. Sister, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, I think that people who have African ancestry do have the right to minimize or not even acknowledge their African ancestry or to relabel themselves. But I think that they need to respect the rights of others when, there are people who have one black parent and one white parent, and they choose a side and they say, I am black. They don't want to say that they are mulatto. You have to respect that person's identity. If they choose that their culture has more relevance and they have they adopt and accept and are embraced and absorbed within Black culture, and they identify as being Black, right? Then you have to respect that, and you don't tell them they have a identity crisis because they are part Black. So if they are leaning on more on their Black side and they choose to ignore their white side, right? That's that person's right. So
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
therefore, um, when people are saying Black betterment, that is for specific people. Those for people who identify as Black or who don't have a problem saying I have African heritage. I'm an African descendant, right? All of those people when they have those terms, they don't have an issue with that, and they say, "Hey, well, do you mind practicing Black betterment?" This is this, and they say, "What's Black betterment?" I'm partially white. What is Black betterment? Black betterment is a philosophy and an ideology where people who are African and African descendants, and they are for the betterment of those people. And they're going to say, "Oh, I'm African descendant, so basically, it's not causing harm to me, and I'm just I'm interacting with people of similar heritage." Those group of people are going to be Black betterment. Anything outside of that, they're not, and it's fine. No one is condemning those people, but it's not cool to come to people who are practicing Black betterment and say, "You're not Black. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be focusing on this." No, you focus on that. Don't come here trying to derail the focus of Black betterment. Go to and create mulatto betterment. More power
Yes.
to you.
And I appreciate
More
that.
power to you.
And Rat Raven, with all due respect, you say I'm not triggered. I have to ask, why did you mute me and put me backstage when I advocated or I suggested that you all successfully advocate for federal funding in the UK to be disseminated to mulatto people, even though you yourself are a mulatto?
Because you keep repeating yourself, the same thing.
Well,
That's
with
why.
all due
So it's
respect,
redundant.
let him answer. Let the host
Yeah,
answer.
the thing is, brother, like the sister did a very good speech just before you came back on, right? About
Yes.
so it's like this. She has given an example that a person who has one Black parent and one white parent
Yes.
is afforded the luxury or the freedom to not focus on the fact that they have European ancestry and focus on working with other Afro-descendant people to fix the collective of Afro-descendant people. So if a person who has one Black parent can do that, that means a people group who have historical admixtures from European can do the same thing, even more so because there is no direct connection to those people because they're like 8 generations removed or whatever it might be, right? So they can go, okay, I'm just going to focus on the collective group that is of African descent. So in theory or in practicality, a mulatto is of African descent, so they can work with other Afro-descendant people to find betterment.
And brother, you might have forgot the question I asked. Why did you criticize me when I suggested that you, as a mulatto, could successfului advocate
Just tell
for
him he keep
federal?
repeating that.
And look, you see that there's a clear bias on the panel. I'm being very
I'm going to use there is, and what it
yes.
is.
You want to
Hold on, bro. I will let you speak.
you want to be Black?
Yeah.
Nobody's ashamed of the bias.
Yeah.
Because you're literally coming here to try to tell. It's like right now I feel like this is a transgender person telling me that I'm not a woman. They are.
Yeah. But this is
crazy.
This is the new age of the internet, and the brother has helped us tremendously because today's topic was understanding what name narcissism is, and you're seeing it there. Like for him, the most important thing is for you to call yourself this stuff. It's very important, right? But he doesn't have too many ideas of what those people can do for the betterment. Even though we've described a lifestyle that is inclusive of the word that he identifies that others don't see him as, right? He still isn't best pleased, and this is the name narcissism. Now, this is happening in this term of this brother who's identified as a mulatto, but it might happen with a person who identifies as Black or African or Cushitic or Bantu or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
They become dogmatic, and you're like, okay, well, you're like, let's call ourselves that. Now, what do we do? and then they can't actually give you some kind of like, let's do this, let's do that, right? Or their fingers, all right, now that you accept it, now spend lots of money to try to go to the government to change the word of it. Like what you call yourself is amazing, but regardless of what you want to call yourself, it doesn't change the fact of who you are. And the fact that you've still gone through what you've gone through, and you're still in the same psychological, social positioning that you were prior to name change. But this is something that we know, and it's something that we see repeatedly. And unfortunately, at the level we're at, we're not allowed to take these brothers serious. Now, brother, I'll bring you back for the last, because we've got to end soon. Here's what it is. When you outside of this forum get your own movement and you get your own things going, and we actually see the work you're doing, we can network you as an institution of mulattoes or identify mulattoes to help you out, or to agree with you. But until you do that, you're just going to see as like a keyboard kind of traveler who just goes from podcast to podcast screaming at people saying, you're mulatto, you're mulatto. And that isn't going to really benefit mulattoes or Negroes or black people, because we all can do that, innit? But what's actually hard is actually having tangible boots on ground activities that we can watch and do. Yeah.
Yes, and actually in real life, I've successfully advocated for nonprofits and 501c3s to be placed in my community, and I stopped the gentrification of my community, Long Reach, Columbia, Maryland. In real life,
Brother, well done for that.
yes.
Well done for that.
Mulattoes?
Hold on.
Mulattoes?
But let me say this before you jump in. Brother, you're coming on this panel and you've researched me. Yeah. I don't know who you are. As far as I know, you're a white X cross logo.
Well, you could go to my page before.
Let me finish. Yeah.
You could go to my page.
I believe you. I believe you. When you've actually start making ground and you start getting somewhere, then I will jump on your panel. Hold on, brother. And then I will jump on and we can have a discussion. But the thing is, the easiest thing is to do is just jump on panels, give your ideology and jump off. Go do some work. And when you do some work and you actually act in the real world, you realize that these name narcissism techniques, it doesn't mean much, because you actually need to get things done and you need to work with people. So the whole like, you're this, you're that, you can't do that. It doesn't work. It's like, I know that you're from the same community. We have different names. We're going to do what we did.
Yes, and in real life, I've done more than you have, with all due respect. But this is not a penis.
Sorry, you can't use those. Trump use these kind of terms, but what I'm saying is, look, it's like this. We want to take you serious, but when you start trolling and name calling,
with all due respect,
and you using the same terms, yeah, I'm gonna have 4 seconds. This is the thing, brother. Yeah, I want us to take you serious. I want, when you say you've done more than me, that's a good thing, even though you can't quantify it because you're operating on the internet at the moment, right? I want you to do things with me, but what I want that trolling you're doing and that bravado you're doing to be true. And I want the mulatto people that you're trying to help to be helped. Because if you're helping mulatto people, that is a category under black people, you see? That is a collection under the Black Greater Collective. So you helping mulattoes is a good thing, but you have to actually do it. You can't do it by trying to force people to accept your new ideology of name tagging. Yeah? So you know what I do, because you've already told me you've watched the videos and you've spoken to people who work with me directly. So you know who I am. So the next thing is for me to actually go to someone else and go, what? You know pan mulattoism? Yeah, the guy who raised £500 or 5 million for building the school for the mulatto people to learn mulatto history or whatever that you take very serious. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense, brother.
Well, actually, I don't know your work. I just know that you debate in the park, with all due respect. And no, I'm not asking for you to take me seriously. You don't take yourself seriously. You pretend to be black, respectfully.
Right. Yeah. So what it is because, like I said, we have really studied this kind of behavioral pattern, right? Where it isn't normal for a person to jump into a panel of someone trying to fix something and speak in the way you've discussed. So today, before we end, brothers, let's see. We were studying name narcissism and what the brother was practicing, and also how constructive criticism and destructive criticism work. You see that everything I was doing was kind, corrective, inclusive of the Greater Black Collective, while this brother was constantly doing what you see here. You see, yeah, he intends to insult and embarrass. You see there, yeah. Negative attitude, you see there. Focus on individuals and their personal attributes. That's what the brother was doing, right? Very vague. Unactionable. Remember that word, unactionable. Subjective feedback. That's what the brother was doing. Remember, that's why this document's important, because we can actually study it right? And see, now I don't want us to be mean to the brother. We shouldn't be mean to the brother because there are many other people out there. They might not identify like he identifies, but they have the same self-sabotage switch in their head, right? And whenever they see black people actually getting somewhere and getting constructive, then it actually triggers, well, I must destroy this. And there's a history of that, right? But like I said, that's why the defense I give all you brothers and sisters out there is the term open door elite, meaning the best will work on what the collective needs, but you will choose to do that. This brother doesn't choose to be constructive. He chooses to be disruptive, you see? He chose this. He could say, you know what, brother, yeah? So let me be him. Let me be him. I go, you're brother, right? I've done all this research and I've realized that historically there's an error. I reckon all people from the diaspora should call themselves mulatto. That's what I really believe. And it's very important to me. But you know what? I can understand why you don't, but I can see that in your actions, you're actually helping mulattoes that you call black. So I'm going to work with you, or I'm going to try to spread the thing or try to get people to come help because I can see that you're dedicated to helping the people group that I'm trying to support. But he's not doing that. Yeah, he doesn't do that. He comes in with name calling and all these kind of terms and stuff like that, and gives no tangible action. Yeah, and that's why he plays his hand. So we're gonna end there, and he can say his last words, or maybe not. I don't know. But Malik Ghost, would you like to end or give your last kind of terms or anything like that? Anything you have to say, sister?
Can you come back to me? I just had to put some food in my mouth. Sorry.
I'll wrap up then. Not too much. Brother Pamelaism, thanks for coming on. We're gonna have you say the last word. You can be as drugged as you want. You can say horrible stuff like you're doing. It's fine. We've done a case
Peace,
study.
King. No, I'm here with all love and respect. With all due respect, I have to let you know you don't have to pretend to be black your entire life. You don't have to booty clap for the blacks. Be a proud mulatto, man. Take yourself seriously, and much love to Melanated Goddess. Peace, family.
I hope you have a good day, brother. Know you're loved. No, unfortunately, you're not important at the moment, but you can be. But know you're loved. Go ahead, sister.
So for him to tell you that you're pretending to be black again, goes against the statement that I said is that people have the right to choose a side, right? And in addition to your genetics, there's a thing called culture. And if you have a mulatto person who's only exposed to one part of who their own makeup, and they identify with that part of them, then they're not pretending, right? That's what you want to call it, and that's what you want to label it. But I can't pretend. I don't know. I don't have Irish culture, right? I don't know Irish history. I don't know the language. I don't have the spiritual system. I don't eat the foods. I don't have Irish culture. So, gosh darn it, I don't identify and I don't acknowledge the 2% that I have, right? I'm sorry. I'm just not going to acknowledge the 2% of Irish that I have, right? So I'm not going to call myself mulatto. I'm not going to say I'm mixed, right? You know, to me, that 2% could be statistical error. I'm just going to call it a day and just rock with my 93%, 94% sub-Saharan African DNA, in which I have the same culture too. So it's not just the DNA, but I also have the culture. So I just hope that, but I do feel like there's a certain level of rigidity and obsessiveness that he has on this topic. I think from the first time when I was in the chat and he jumped on your panel, I was like in the chat saying, kick him off. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to derail the conversation because he's a little obsessive over this, as you can see, which is why you came up with you looked up the name narcissism, right? He's very obsessive over this topic. So, you know what it is. Black Betterment, everyone. Black liberation, Black power. Let's do this.
Thank you, sis. Once again, Melanated Goddess, very synchronized in her mindset, understands the collective betterment. And to add to what she says before we go, it's a very tricky predicament because what it is people who had one black parent and one white parent and one in the past, they knew what part what side their the bread was buttered back in the olden days, right? Because of the open discrimination against mulattoes and Negroes and it being the same group. I think today, because that slavery is gone and stuff, now there's this like heightened, like the brother said in the video, to accept not to do things, to reject one side of you in it. I'm very different from that. Like I obviously don't have any European parents, whatever, right? But and obviously I can't give you this statement because I don't have it to give. But I would like to think if I did, my reason would I would not be accepting any connection to European. And the reason I say that is this: even though race is there's a biological element to race, it came in prominence because of white supremacy. Racial category was highly used to practice racism, and the people who used it were people of European descent. And with their powers, they at one time said that Italians were not white. They said Irish were not white. They said certain parts of Europe were not white. And as time went by, they became white, and then they end up practicing this, unfortunately, some of the same racial practices that the Europeans, the Eastern Europeans, were doing, right? Or the Western, sorry, right? So I'm saying, if you are in charge of the category, and you have children for a black person, but you don't allow your children to have white status, then but you are letting Eastern Europeans and Italians or whatever it might be, then I'm thinking, before you can even say you're being rejected by them, you're rejecting your own children. So that's how my brain computer would work, I assume, if I actually had a white parent, which I do not. But then once again, it's not for me to tell European biracial people today, at this day and age, how they should and shouldn't do something. But that's how my brain would work. Like, I don't need to acknowledge Europeans because I don't have. I'm not, because you could have included me in your category and you haven't. And you said that I could have to be in the black category and I cannot be in the white category historically and today. So why would I go out of my way to acknowledge you when you have limited me to this category, which is actually a blessing, because the black category is the category that we're going to come together and obviously promote and big up, whatever. But that's just my rationale, and I'll be going on some of these mixed podcasts that's out there, and I'll be saying the same thing. But once again, out of respect, it's a respect thing, and I would like to have a back of dialogue. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. All peace to Malik. God, peace to Brother Stanley jumped on. Cushy's in the house, of course. Ebbs was in the house. Who else was in the house? Scrolling up. Russa TV Foster was in the house, and She Range was in the house. Dominic, brother, very important contributor, and everyone who's in the back. Unless there's anything, we're going to go now. Next, before we go, let's not forget that this is Malcolm X's 100th birthday, and we started by showing things of him, and we moved into the identity thing as we've done for 4 weeks now. And I'll keep you posted about some of these podcasts I'm going to jump on. But if there's anything you want me to tackle or do, let me know. But until then, everyone, Black Betterment to all Black members. Hope you have a fantastic time and see you next week. Oh yeah, there you go.